Looks like a busted play here. Williams in trouble, and he'll just throw it up and picked off. And Walcott.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Option look. Sanders keeps it, makes the cut. First down, still running. Spencer Sanders all the way to the house. A crucial touchdown for Oklahoma State to fight back 37 yards.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here Pollard. Oh, the Pollard. Turn it on. Carlson. He gets past him. Look at Pollard taking it for the touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Corral on 2nd and 15 as they're chopping down in a his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Man, what a day it is in sports, huh? The opening round of the Masters at what is golf heaven, Augusta National. The opening day of Major League Baseball season. It was also the week of the National Championship game. And the draft, of course, a little bit later on in this month. It's Second 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and we might be distracted because Tiger's wrapping up his round. Scotty Scheffler is as well, among others, with a couple of holes to play. And others on the course, Jordan Spieth, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. And Paul Bloss, who is a viewer, listener of the show, Baylor fan, came by the studio a moment ago. We're going to tell you what he dropped off. We are all going to have to go to Weight Watchers or something here pretty soon because of all the food we had yesterday and also what Paul dropped off today on his way down to watch Baylor practice and spring drills continue.
Not Armstrong, apparently. He has metabolism, blessed on high by the angels.
Yeah, and we all hate him for it. It's something that eventually loses you as you get older sometimes. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low metabolism.
Yeah.
And Armstrong, you're headed down that track as well. All right, so, hey, today I sent emails to about a dozen college football programs for high school for coaches to come on this show between now and the next month as spring drill games. There's a bunch of them this weekend, including in this state, Texas A&M, Texas State, among a few others. And today we're going to drop in discussing the Aggies, Clemson, Nebraska, and Cincinnati, a future Big 12 team, the Bearcats, with our good friend Chad Brendel. As I think it's kind of neat. We turn the page, and here we go. Also, before we get into that or talk much more about that, Matthew Klopfenstein is a new commitment for Baylor. Another highly rated player that commits to Dave Aranda, a tight end, which, of course, as you know, Paul and Craig with Jeff Grimes, and what they do with the offense is something that they are just like gathering as many of them as they could possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I was out there at practice and kind of noticed that although they've got some guys, Ben Sims and Drake Dabney, I think are going to be the primary, for sure be the primary guys this year. But then, a couple of the younger guys like Kelsey Johnson and Cody Mladenka, even though he's hurt right now, or at least was last weekend, they're coming up. But just kind of looking at 5 guys in that group last week, it looked a little light. And, I know that's a position that they use often in what they do in terms of not only blocking but receiving. And the fullbacks last year the tight ends last year, sometimes they were lining up at fullback, sometimes they were lining up at H-back, sometimes they were a traditional tight end, sometimes they were in 2 tight end sets, sometimes they used it in a variety of ways. And so they need a bit more punch there, and we're seeing them, address that head on in these last couple of recruiting classes, bringing in like 3 guys last year. They're going to probably bring in another 3 guys this year, and, you're going to lose Ben Sims next season. So they're just preparing for the future, and, huge pickup, 4-star guy, a lot of, nice attention surrounding him, and just continue to bolster those positions of importance.
Well, Dave Aranda said in the interview you had with him yesterday, Smokey, about tight end and the focus and how the NFL has changed its view of it. So, look, if you're going to recruit a roster with NFL players, there has to be a different focus on tight end. And outside of Oklahoma and Iowa State now recently, if you really look back at the last few years of the Big 12, it's been very deficient. I know as someone who had to vote in the AP All Big 12 team for several years, getting past to the first tight end, Mark Andrews is from this league. Great. Who's the next best tight end after Mark Andrews? No one, because it wasn't what the offense was doing, and part of that was Baylor's offense that used the tight end as an offensive lineman that could run routes, essentially, and block further down the field, and the way they kind of snuck things around. And now you're starting to see the renaissance of it, and part of that is because the league wants tight ends that can block and catch and run, because they're hoping to find the next Travis Kelce or Darren Waller or guys like that.
I know that because of the offense that I would run, and I understand how important it is now in this day and age of what is wide open, I have always still been someone that loved either you have the elite tight end, or even at times what is now the H-back or fullback. I just still think that's huge when it comes to protection. It's a weapon when you use it, maybe 2 or 3 times a game when it comes to the fullback, H-back. But Baylor last year, with the offense that they run, with that wide zone, with what the quarterbacks need, the tight end position, to me, you can't have enough of them, and I've always thought the teams that had tight ends and use them properly are usually going to be very, very good. Not all of them, but I just love it. And it's another, and yet again, we're starting to see, and again, you can't sit there and say stars don't matter, because they always do. And you look at the teams and players who get the Super Bowls, those who are drafted, teams that win, that does matter. Now, there's on occasion those who outwork everybody, or at least find a way, no matter who they are recruiting, because of what they get, and get them on campus and how much better they can get, like Baylor and TCU under Gary Patterson for the longest of time, or Iowa State or others. But you start accumulating them enough, you never know. And Baylor's starting to get more of the 4-star type player commitments. It seemed like more often than they are the ones like, okay, who else was offering them? There's some big boy names. I mean, Josh White himself, which is not a high school commitment, and where he could have gone, leaving LSU or before he went to LSU, it's a huge list, no question about it. All right, the Masters is going on. Scotty Scheffler, number 1 ranked player in the world, seriously, a neighborhood friend of our Armstrong Sims, is 3 under par. Tiger is on number 18. He's at 1 under par. He's kind of managed himself around the course, and there's a couple of others that are in that 2 and 3 under par neighborhood, and a lot of players, of course, on the course. We're going to check in with Art Strickland from Augusta National today at about 5:15 or so. Let me see. Astros and Angels open tonight. Rangers open tomorrow against Toronto. Also, one game was postponed. Red Sox and their game with the Yankees postponed. So, Paul, you can relax on opening day. And also a game going on right now, Milwaukee and the Cubs. This is my probably, I know college football, but this is one of my favorite weeks in all of sports. I don't know how it can't be.
God wanted me to focus on Tiger. He needs me.
Yeah, he does right now, because he just drilled one way left in the woods on number 18.
Yeah, so that's why I want my focus split with the Red Sox, and my inevitable if they lose the first one, where I spend 24 hours thinking that's it, 0-162. I mean, I'm not lying to you when I tell you, if they lose the first game badly, if the Yankees win this first game 7-1, that's it, 0-162. I don't know what they did in the offseason.
Oh, my God, shut up.
It's what happens.
Craig Lee Buttercup, dude, is a 4-star recruit. We've been winning with mainly 2 stars and sometimes 3 stars. Me thinks, oh, boy, can't wait to see what Aranda does with these new guys.
Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier. The more talent, the better odds you have. I mean, leave it to the recruiting guys. They'll tell you they've got, articles already typed up they've been doing all over the years about how important stars are, right? Like, as much as, people want to sometimes say stars don't matter, they do, and recruiting reporters will be the first to, tell you how much they matter and show you the numbers and how many national champions average this number of 4 and 5 stars versus, basically all the rest of college football. And it's typically the same cats who always have the highest numbers. But if you can find a way to sneak up into that group, if you're Baylor, I mean, you've already proven you can hang with a lot of teams. You've already proven you can win titles. I mean, I do think the next step for them, when they've now twice barely found themselves on the outside looking into the playoff, not only last year where you go, I don't know what happened in Fort Worth, but if you guys win that game, then you're probably in the college football playoff. I mean, that's how bad that loss was for them ultimately. Then again, maybe it spurred them on to finish the way that they did. But, they got that close, really just one game away. And then, of course, in 2014, they were, just a decision away, basically. And so they've been knocking on the door. The really problem for them has been just stability and just having the same person in charge for more than a couple of years. And so
there you go.
You've got Dave Aranda now, who's already matched, when he hits the field next year, will have matched Matt Rule's time at Baylor. And if he can surpass that and get closer to Art's time at Baylor and then get closer to a Grant Taft's time at Baylor, and all the while you're grabbing, occasional 4 stars and you add a couple each and every year to where all of a sudden, you're not just getting a couple in a class, you're getting 6 or 7 guys in a class perhaps because you're winning and you're being consistent, and that's how you do it. And hopefully along the way, maybe you stumble upon that once-in-a-generation quarterback like Art Briles did, where, it just flips everything and takes it to a whole nother level, or a player of that kind of caliber, quarterback or not. So, yeah, they're building, and they're building with really sturdy blocks, and I think that tight ends especially see that Grimes offense and what they're trying to do, and it's attractive to them, and that's why they're having success with it.
And you also are then you're also building levels of them. As you mentioned, 6 in 1 year, then 6 in the next thing you know, you have half your rosters in that realm, and again, there's a reason, although sometimes the stars can also be a little bit,
Well, I think the stars don't matter comment is only relevant if the coaches that are recruiting them can't develop them. It's the Texas Longhorn argument right now, in that they've had coaches, not so much Mac Brown, but maybe Mac Brown a little at the end, and then Charlie Strong and Tom Herman, who could get plenty of 4- and 5-star guys in the room, but they stayed the same as they were when they were 17, 18, and 19 years old. And by the time they're 21, 22, 23, they weren't any better. So stars matter if you're Nick Saban and can develop them, if you're Kirby Smart and can develop them, if you're Dabo Swinney and can develop them, if you're putting guys in the league and doing those things. If stars don't matter, or I wouldn't say they don't matter, but you can negate it if you can't develop guys to be better than they were when they got there.
Even Texas fans, you're starting, and we've discussed the podcast and some things that have been said. I don't know why it's taken so long. They're finally realizing that. The fans are starting to realize, and it's been a while, and no question about it.
Yeah, I think that comment's kind of overrated, though, because it's not as though they don't develop anybody. And this kind of goes back to a little tiff we had like a year ago or whatever. I mean, I just think they have so many of them. Like, they get 10 4-stars in a class. So then 2 of them don't pan out, and you go, see, they can't develop guys. And it's like, well, there probably are guys that do develop that we don't give enough credit to, a Sam Ellinger or whatever. It's just that, it reaches a certain ceiling, and that ceiling's not a national championship. So anything short of that, or a Big 12 championship, they're not they haven't grabbed as of late. So when those things aren't ending up in the trophy cases, and then you point out, a couple guys didn't pan out, and then it's, they don't know how to develop, and they don't, and it's right. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's been coaching at times. I think it's been arrogance a lot of the times. I think it's been at times, maybe some overrated talent, or just not the right quarterback, or whatever the case may be. But they're far from the only team that's dealt with that. I mean, they're just the easiest punching bag, quite frankly. They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, it's all about developing talent. You can get all the guys that you want, but if they don't get better once they get on campus, then it's all really for naught, because nobody just grabs 10 4-stars in this class and then 10 in that class, and they just throw them out there and play. No, eventually coaching comes into play as well. So the teams that can recruit well and coach well, I mean, those are your champions year in and year out, and those are the teams contending. And I think we know that the coaching thing is taken care of at Baylor right now, and the talent thing is now starting to multiply as well. So they're on a good track. They've got a good foundation, and now it's just about building off that, and you do that by getting guys like Matthew Klopfenstein like they did today.
Grayson with a note today, and Ashley Hodge was on this. Jalen Bridges, the forward from West Virginia, the basketball player, has home visits to Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Baylor. He'll go to Alabama first, then Baylor, and then also try to make trips to Michigan State and Ohio State. He would be a transfer to one of those 4 schools. He's a former star coming out of Fairmont High School in West Virginia.
Yeah, can West Virginia fans explain that? I saw just like a couple of tweets, and the 2 tweets I saw from West Virginia fans are talking about how much they're rooting for him to go to Baylor, and I didn't quite get the joke. I don't know if it's because they want to be able to scream at him when he visits Morgantown, or because they think he won't be that good.
Let me ask the chat.
I don't know. So yeah, I just saw a couple of comments like that in passing of like West Virginia fans hope he goes to Baylor, and I didn't quite understand if that was like in a joking way or not. So if you could explain that to me, that'd be great. But yeah, that's of note. Obviously, Baylor's going to be very heavy in the transfer portal. I mean, everybody is, right? Who's not? If you're not in the transfer portal in college basketball at this point, you might just be really loaded up on your roster, or I don't really know what you're doing, because pretty much everybody, and we've seen it in the Big 12. I mean, look at the Kansas. They got transfers. Baylor got transfers. Texas got transfers. Texas had transfers. Everybody is dabbling in that now. So, that'll be really interesting. And I see you now pulled up that other note.
Yeah, there's another note. When Brian Nance left Baylor as a part of their personnel department to go to Joey McGuire's staff, where he's compiled Brian Nance, James Blanchard, James Lockhart, among others, Blaine Gauthier has been hired by Baylor. Colt's been on this heavily. Blaine Gauthier has been hired as the Associate Director of Player Personnel. He's been at Michigan State a couple of months ago, in fact, as an offensive analyst. He's also a former star player at the University of Louisiana Lafayette and offensive analyst at LSU. So there's the connection to Dave Aranda and the staff where Aranda may have known him. And so he has filled the role within 2 or 3 days of Brian Nance headed to Texas Tech and Lubbock.
That's the fastest announcement we've got. Of course, we didn't get anything official from Baylor. May not for 6 or 7 months.
We can't get a spring roster, so I don't think we're going to get a coaching staff change probably. And I'm not trying to harp on that, but writing an article, it's been hard to kind of not see who's on the team right now. Like you kind of just have to. Yeah, I think he's still there, but I don't know what year anybody is. Like if you're a redshirt sophomore who's in their 4th year, like. Without a roster, I have no idea what to call you, so I just avoid calling them juniors or sophomores because I have no idea what anybody is at this point without a little guide sheet.
Yeah, it would help, but again, everyone has their reasons. And I'll never forget that time Matt Rule submitted a depth chart right before Big 12 Media Days, and I remember texting him. I said, what the hell is this? He goes, I filled that out while I was on the beach. I mean, it meant so much to him at the time that he filled that out on the beach, and everyone ran with it. And, of course, that's all you can go with, basically.
Actually, I think the argument, how TCU is taking away the term freshman and sophomore and all that they're just going the British style. The COVID eligibility.
Do y'all feel how the world has changed and become better as a result of that decision? Oh, my gosh, what a game-changing decision that was.
But this is a much better reason to do that, then someone might get their feelings hurt by calling a freshman. Just he's in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 of his eligibility. Yeah. That would be easier to understand now that we've got this backlog.
Like Harry Potter, like you're a 5th year student or whatever.
I asked the question about Jalen Bridges in the chat. Big Ounce, a West Virginia fan, go, I don't want him there. Okay. He doesn't want him. And I said, okay, thanks, Big Ounce. By the way, thanks to those of you who have already joined us. And Scotty B, almost always our leadoff hitter, which means he's a contact hitter with speed and can play some defense somewhere.
I assume that some of those tweets were people saying, oh, please go to Baylor so you can play him. But I think that Big Ounce is probably right. Like, oh, no, don't go play for one of the best programs in the country.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, I was trying to see clarification because I assumed it was a joke. So I was like, why would they want that? And, but I couldn't tell because I didn't really delve into it much further.
If anybody transfers from FSU as my alma mater, I hope they go to the University of the Pacific or something.
Yeah.
So they don't come back and haunt them.
Yeah. I mean, so thank you for a little bit of clarification that's not a overwhelming opinion, or at least it's most likely a joke. That's what I figured it to be. But that's why I was wondering, maybe it's you laugh through the pain kind of a thing. I don't know.
So we are, again, until 6 o'clock. Thanks to Paul Bloss. Armstrong, do you have the picture that Levi's in the studio, Jack McKenzie, who's on Twitter now at JackMac1988. Also, Emery Winter.
98.
Oh, yeah, he's not that old. 1998, Jack is in studio. So is Emery Winter, Armstrong Sims. Those are kolaches from the Czech stop. And Paul Bloss is on his way down, as I mentioned earlier. I'm telling you, the one in the middle, that's chocolate, like chocolate chips or something.
Huh, interesting. That I've never had before. By the way.
I had 12 cookies I left in the studio last night, 12 of them, and there's 2 of them left. And I didn't take anyone. Craig, did you take any with you?
No.
I'm not going to.
Nobody is saying a word in the studio.
Yeah. Jack,
are you going to at least deny, confirm, or deny?
Jack ate 3 of them.
There's 0, 3, Emery, 0. Armstrong, you're lying. You are absolutely lying. I hope Scotty Scheffler hits a tree. And not in a car, but like.
So we have to talk about Levi today.
Okay.
Levi did something very, it's impressive, but it kind of hurt my feelings because he's here for the 2nd consecutive day. And I was like, oh man, 2 days in a row is awesome. Levi is here because he has an article to write and he and his roommates just got new video games and he cannot concentrate
because
in the apartment because he can't stay focused and wants to.
What game?
Well, what did they get?
My friends got Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars. MLB The Show. Okay. All right. Yeah, that'll keep you busy. Yeah.
He's here.
What are the sounds of video games these days? Are they?
I mean, there's no. I don't know. There's not noises we could make. I mean, it's it's like a movie sound effects, pretty much.
Yeah, it is. It's not like Mario. It's like doot 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 doot. It's not that anymore.
Or
lots
asteroids.
of gunfire and things like that.
All right, I see some of them. Sometimes I'll see something pop up on Twitter. They don't have the audio. At least I don't see it, but you can see people try to kill people. So that we will update you on the Masters leaderboard when we come back in the next break. We open up. Our first guest is not until 3:45. We have lines. Paul, can we open the lines up? Armstrong, can we open the phone lines up?
I'm gonna executively say no. We will not have time. We have to get to a guest on time. We have too many guests.
At 3:45?
We absolutely cannot. I promise you right now, we are not responsible enough to do it. The collective us.
It's 3:20.
We can't do it. And we'll open them up. But I'm telling you, we can't do it. If we hit that guest 1 second after 3:45, $5.
All right. I'll give you $10. We have 25 minutes until that segment. All right, we're going to open the lines up. I'll fight for you. 254-339-1122. We celebrated 2 years yesterday. We have started year number 3 today. We will drop in again with A&M, Clemson, Nebraska, and Cincinnati as we begin a heavy dose of the spring drills. Not to mention a live cut in to Augusta National and the Masters. Mickey Spagnola, he'll join us, DallasCowboys.com, Sikkim, 365 Radio, and 365 Sports.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels. The new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab has all the quality for work or play. Impressive towing capabilities, heavy-duty payload capacity, smooth ride, and an interior design is why Ram is the first truck ever to win #1 overall in initial quality according to J.D. Power. When looking for a truck that can do it all, come see the possibilities. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop Allen Samuels, DCJ.com, or come in and see the huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Back with Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. 254-339-1122 is the number for any calls, any opinions, comments, questions on what we've discussed in the first part of this show. And again, right around the corner, our first guest will check in with A&M as they're one of about, I think it's about 16 or 18 schools that have spring games among the major colleges in America. Also, Cheeto Miko. Still haven't figured out why I hang around a Baylor-centric broadcast, but you guys cover all more than fairly. Love you all. Thank you, Cheeto.
Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Thanks for your feedback, and we appreciate you very, very much as well. Biscuits and Gravy wants to know why Paul won't take her call.
Look, I can get in the weeds about structuring a radio show and what we do and how it's different, but I'm not going to. So we'll just take the calls, and then I'll be proven right later.
All right, go ahead, Craig. What were you going to say? You going to add to it? 254-339-1122. Biscuits and Gravy. Again, we'll try to get your call on the air here momentarily if we possibly can. Leader at the Masters. Cameron Smith, right now 4 under par. Scotty Scheffler, ranked number 1 in the world, is on 17, 3 under par. Willett and Neiman. Joaquin Neiman played alongside Tiger today. Also now, they're at 3 under par. Tiger, a par number 18 from about 6-8 feet away after hitting his shot in the trees on number 18 to finish his opening round at the Masters at 71. Pretty remarkable that he's even playing, and of course then to do that. Jason Kokrak is 2 under par. He's in the clubhouse as well. 254-339-1122, the number to call. We appreciate your calls if you have time to jump on as well. From Aaron Anderson on college basketball, I don't understand how John Calipari still has a job.
I don't know why they'd fire him. I mean, you know, you got to think about, like, what are you going to go get? If somebody
fired him, there would be everybody, I'd say 95% of all programs, even if they have a pretty good coach, would beat down his door.
Yeah, I mean, I know he hasn't won a title in a while, but, you know, he was in a Final Four right after that.
Neither had Bill Self.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do. I think Jay Wright and North Carolina winning 2 titles pretty close to each other made a lot of the Blue Bloods think, like, why aren't we doing that? But it'd been a long time. You know, it'd been since 1985, but since Villanova, before they won that little
stretch where they've been on.
So it's a long time. It's hard. It's really, really hard to do. It took Kansas, who's been in several Final Fours since they won in 2008, till Monday night to do it. It's really hard to win a national title. It's really hard to win consistently in the tournament. Maybe they're not hitting their baseline of what you think they should be. Look, Kentucky, given their basketball resources, probably should be a solid Sweet 16 team pretty much every year, but they also ran up against St. Peter's, who beat Purdue. They beat everybody in their path until they got to North Carolina, who was kind of a team of destiny in their own right.
Yeah, they don't just come off the trees like apples or lemons or whatever they are. It's hard to win one, and sometimes what Nick Saban's done at Alabama, even Dabo at Clemson, and then in basketball, you could always look at what John Wooden did when he won 9 of 11 or whatever it was. It's hard. It's really, really difficult. Jerry Tarkanian, UNLV, was unbelievable. And they had a team that finally won it after they had knocked on the door. And then they had what looked like an unbeatable team, and that team didn't win it. 83 Houston, unbeaten, Akeem Olajuwon and company, they didn't win it because of the shocking upset to North Carolina State. So some of the great teams. Danny Manning in Kansas in 88 beat what was a fantastic Oklahoma team in 1988. That's Kansas, but they were the underdog in that game to a really good Oklahoma team. And Oklahoma did not get that one done. I think Billy Tubbs might have been the head coach at OU at that particular time. Aaron Adamson, trust me, Big Blue Nation is fed up with him. Yeah, you never know what the alternative is. And I get that Kentucky, is that the Kentucky, is that in college basketball terms, Alabama, when it comes to expectations and demands? Or is there I know Kansas and North Carolina, Duke, and everybody. It's in Kentucky. Somebody tell us on the show last week that Kentucky would dwarf anybody else if the game had included them in the Final Four down in New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and maybe they are fed up with him. I don't know, but okay, if you fire John Calipari, who are you going to go hire? Because the Billy Gillespie hire wasn't that long ago and didn't work out. That's why you have John Calipari now. So. It's not like there's just elite coaches sitting around waiting for Kentucky to call.
Yeah, they've had a few flat tires along the way. It's not always easy, but yeah, this year when you lose to someone like St. Peter's and you look at the budget and much more and all that, it does probably get even more frustrating as you could possibly imagine. Let's see, Jacob, he's always updating us on Boise State. Jeremiah Dickey, their athletic director, formerly at Baylor, Boise State, came out with a potential renovation to all of its sports and looks like they are making a move for the Big 12 in the future or for the conference to at least notice.
Well, they need to. That's what you got to do. I mean, to make sure that, look, if it's not the Big 12, it might be somebody else. You never know. But the Big 12 seems like the most likely option, so might as well do it, especially if you got the money.
Yeah, I mean, great that they are up in their facilities. I mean, that's great news. Saw South Florida's doing something as well. And, I don't know what the Big 12 expansion holds or, the timeline or the thoughts that are going through there right now. I mean, they just changed commissioners, so I don't know where, that falls and affects a timeline of any decisions on expansion in the future. But, I mean, Boise State is in that group that's been mentioned or at least discussed and vetted, and if not the Big 12, then who knows what the ever-changing landscape looks like with the Pac-12. I mean, I know that there's been debates going back to last year when we were talking about all this about the Pac-12 and what they would want and what they wouldn't want. And I know the Pac-12's too nose in the air, snobby for the Baylors or the TCUs or whatever because they're not going to mess with the religious schools or whatever the case may be. That's fine. They can be snobbish. And maybe that's, as a result, not a place that Boise lands. But who knows? I mean, we don't know. There might be 3 major conferences in 5 years. There might be 5. There might be 4. I mean, we really have no idea. We know the SEC is going to be around. We know the Big Ten is going to be around. We know the ACC is going to be around. The Pac-12 will be around, but, what does it look like? To what extent? Does it fold into the Big Ten, going back to rumors from a year and a half ago of, for example, USC and Oregon, they're looking around the room and they're looking at the SEC money and they're looking at the Big Ten money that's coming and they're going, they're kind of, looking like OU and Texas saying, well, what about all these cast and crew around us? They're not holding up the weight, or at least that's the feeling that OU and Texas had. Why don't we go to the Big Ten or what other option there might be and make $100 million a year more than we're making in the Pac-12? Those are the decisions that schools have to make. And if you're a USC or someone like that, then, I'm sure you're probably kicking that idea around right now with everything so up in the air and, thinking, okay, we got to worry about a Pac-12 TV negotiation at some point, but depending on how that goes, depending on what kind of money we're talking about, would it surprise y'all if there were schools looking around? It wouldn't to me. So, so saying that, if the Pac-12 just experienced a massive exodus, maybe they don't have the room to be snobby and say, well, we're not going to include the Baylors or the Boise's or the who. You might have to. You might be forced to.
And they also might just tell you to screw yourself.
And you might not have the option because Baylor or, and I throw them in there as an example because, just months ago we're talking about, well, Tech's going to go to the Pac-12 and Kansas is going with them and, all that stuff. So, I mean, I guess anything's on the table. So yeah. I mean, I think the instability right now is leaving a lot of room for questions and interesting ideas of what could be to come. And it might just all be the same when all is said and done. And just the money figures are different. But I don't think any of us really have a good idea.
You know what's interesting to me is when all of this happened, Texas and Oklahoma, and ever since, and even before then, there's almost this level of snobbery as we talk, almost this elitism at certain places that we don't want to include you. We don't need them. Well, I mean, I'll still go back to the most powerful, and the Big Ten is right there with the SEC. No matter if it's going to be $5 million or $6 million or $10 million, they're both way up here. And yes, there are some that do look down their noses at others. But you know what? From the beginning, we have said this about the SEC. They care about what is the weakest link as much as they care about who is the most powerful. Well, they understand it. They get it almost in a way like the NFL, that all 32 have to be given the same amount of revenue no matter how powerful. Some of them are more than others, and they can make money other ways, like the Cowboys do and others.
Well, and a lot of that snooty looking down your nose is, schools that most of the time, like, honestly, if you asked Ohio State or Alabama, all biases outside the door, do you guys care who would come in your conference and you have to play? They'd be like, no. Because they know that they're going to beat most of the teams they play. The teams that all don't want other teams in or look down on the ones, for the most part, are the ones who haven't done anything in a long time and are afraid to get beat by somebody who's smaller than them.
I think it's I think there might be some of that. I think it's politics. Yeah. I think it's a bunch of snobby California people. And look, I say that, but it's the feeling that comes across like, we would never allow them. Like that's what I'm basing that off of, is the nose in the air responses from some West Coast fans who immediately were like, we would never allow. It's just like, so we're not invited to your country club. Okay, thank you. We'll go find a better place that's more fun anyways. And that's where I come from with the Pac-12. I have no axe to grind and nothing against the conference. That's just the feeling that emanates sometimes. But Ohio State, they don't care. It's not about who they would beat. They're going to beat anybody anyways. They're Ohio freaking State. It's about who's bringing money. Mm-hmm. This is like John McClain, longtime NFL writer. Anytime a contract question comes up, John's going to say the same thing. What's the money situation? A guy is not wanting to report to camp. What's the money situation? Guy says he doesn't want to play somewhere anymore. What's the money situation? It always comes back to the money. All this just drama and TMZ Great sports, all it is it comes back to money. Every single time it comes back to money. All of a sudden Xavier Howard's happy in Miami after not being for 2 years. What happened? Hey, we got more money. It's all money. In college athletics, same thing. It has nothing to do with your brand. It does have to do with your brand. It has nothing to do with your history, really. If you're a hot brand who can make big money, they'll find a place for you. And, if you're somebody that's borderline and then you have, an attachment like, you're also a religious school, well, then you're not going to be probably as popular for a Pac-12 to want to bring in. But I think that, there's nothing really to it as far as like the winning goes. I think it's just so money driven now. So there's just only so many brands that can, look at the Big 12. Like, they don't know if they brought in extra value really or not yet. They think they did. They did the best they could. But are they still going to be making less money than they were? At least in the beginning, probably. So, there's just only so many options out there. But just going back to Boise, they're a team that, how much value do they really bring? But in terms of them landing in a power conference, I think we got to, wait and see about 5 more years or 2 more years, somewhere in that time frame, once these TV contracts get settled. And, if everybody locks their contracts in and all the leagues stay the same, then so be it. But, if somebody's not liking the numbers that they're seeing and feels like, maybe grass is greener on the other side, much like OU and Texas did, then who knows? All bets are off, and you might be in a situation where, hey, I'm Cincinnati. I didn't think I was getting a power call anytime soon, but guess what? The Big 12 wasn't expecting Texas and Oklahoma to leave, and so here we are, and now Cincy's a Power 5, and BYU's a Power 5, and so, who knows?
From Aaron Anderson, by the way, culturally and politically, UT would have been a better fit in the Pac-12, and of course, the last time there was a lot of this shuffling around, and we got to take a break here, that was something that they were trying to work some things out. Didn't work out. It's going to happen. There's going to be constant change. And you're right, what John McClain said, no matter what a player says or a coach or a player free agent, it's always about the money, and rarely is it not.
If Boise State could prove and bring in money, they'd be in a Power 5 conference. Yep. That's what I'm saying. So, let's just see how the landscape shifts in the next couple of years.
There's no way the Big Ten ever thought they were going to have Rutgers and Maryland.
Exactly.
And guess what? Then they saw the eyeballs and said, hey, let's grab a little bit of that monopoly piece of pie as well. When we come back, Olin Buchanan, Texas A&M, been kind of quiet with Jimbo Fisher and company. Expectations sky high. Can they get to them this year? Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza with four locations right now in Waco, in Woodway, China Spring, Belmead, and also in Robinson and building a new store in Hewitt, which allows them more access down 35 and south of Waco into Lorena and elsewhere as well. Bob Mock is the owner. Bob Mock's a huge Baylor fan, but also a fan of what we do and has been for a long, long time. And he also is someone that supports what we do with our coverage of high school athletics to give back to the communities and why he has stores where he does. Marco's Pizza, by the way, they have the Pepperoni Magnifico. It's become one of our favorites. Go to PepMag if you order online, Marcos.com, and it's pepperoni with two different styles of pepperoni, and you could barely see anything else that's on that pizza because it is loaded. And, of course, they're all meat pizza, thin crust, whatever you want, you can do it. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Today we check in with 4 different college football programs. We mentioned the commitment to tight end for Baylor, the 4-star tight end. But we also, as you know, if you've followed us long enough, check in with many others, and we will, as a lot of spring games this weekend and throughout the month of April. Texas A&M, Cincinnati, Clemson, and Nebraska will check in with. They have games coming up this weekend. And Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com, joins us. 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. Olin, thanks for your time. They have accumulated all of this talent, but not everything is perfect. What were a couple of the must position goals or things they had to know for Jimbo Fisher and company after this weekend?
That's a good question. I think I don't know if they have to know anything yet. Like, for instance, the quarterback competition is going to go into August. I think you would like to know, though, that you would see something at wide receiver, especially after you had one guy was dismissed from the team earlier this year, and maybe linebacker play. You want to see some guys that are playing linebacker show some improvement, like Edgerrin Cooper, Andre White, because quite frankly, the A&M defense wasn't as good against the run last season as they were the year before, and I think most of that goes back to Buddy Johnson. They need to find a guy who can step into the hole, diagnose the play, step in the hole, and end the play at contact.
Olin, does Haynes King, having won the job out of last year's fall camp, give him any kind of advantage now, or is it a completely new competition?
Well, they're saying it's a completely new competition, and the word is that they've been very impressed with both Max Johnson and Connor Wigman. And quite frankly, if you look at all three of them, they have their they all have their selling points. I mean, Haynes has been in Jimbo Fisher's system the longest, and Fisher has said before that he thinks he's an NFL caliber quarterback. But Max Johnson has the most playing experience. I mean, he started the most SEC games, and there are those that have been watching him and says, just for outright talent, Wigman has the most. But I would imagine, I believe that Haynes King has the edge. It may not be a huge edge, but I think he has the edge. And if I had to place my bet today, who will be named the quarterback in late August, I'd go with Haynes King for the reasons I mentioned. He has the we always heard over and over how difficult it is to learn Jimbo's system completely, and if that's true, he's been in that system for 3 years, and the other guys, this is their first year. And then again, Fisher telling us that he has, meaning Haynes, has NFL potential. Well, that would tell me that not only does he have the talent to play at a high level, but again, he's the only guy that has the most experience in that system. So that's why I would expect that Haynes King will be the quarterback, but again, I really don't think they're going to make a decision till late August.
Olin, you kind of referenced a player no longer being on the team there with Damon Demas. And I remember when you were on my old show regularly, I mean, he was a player that the hype was just beyond belief. But there are a couple other guys we used to regularly talk about. Baylor Cupp was one. He's no longer on the team. Luke Matthews now medically retiring as well. I think we probably talked about on occasion. Is there any more attrition that I'm missing there? And in particular, if you have any thoughts on those guys, great. But Demas, just how disappointing was that there was so much hype for him and expectations for him, and it just never really got going in College Station?
Well, extremely disappointing, and I think that wherever he may land, I still think the guy has amazing potential and still could have a heck of a career if somebody's going to, take him with all that baggage. As far as Baylor Cupp, he had so many injuries, and I was surprised to see him decide to transfer. But at the same time, with the injuries that he's had, and I think some of the talent they brought in at tight end, they brought in three of the top. They're not all here yet, but three of the top 10 tight end recruits, and then some others. So, I can only guess, because I haven't talked to Baylor, that maybe he just felt that either he wasn't going to get as much playing time as he hoped, or he just felt like he needed a new, just a new change of scenery. So it was disappointing, but I think they feel like they're still pretty good at that position.
Well, I mentioned this off the top. Obviously, expectations, and A&M's been down this road before, and it's a different thing now because they have been building, but they're also in a conference that's really deep, and they have people around them that are really good. Do you feel like this could be that next step, and what would be the next step in your opinion?
Well, the next step is winning the SEC West. I mean, they've shown in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, they showed they could beat every team on the schedule except Alabama. And then last year, they showed they could beat Alabama, and they did it with a backup quarterback, 2 true freshmen in the offensive line, and another guy who was a backup starting in that game in the offensive line. So does that mean they're going to take that next step? No. But I certainly think that they're at that point now where anything less than being serious contenders. Now, we understand that things change with injuries, but anything less than serious contenders as you look at them now with if they're healthy, and I mean by healthy, you mean like a quarterback or, your best player like a Devon Achane. But because we all know there's going to be a certain amount of injuries for everything. They're at a point now that I think they should expect to win at least 10 games a year and feel like that you have a chance to win the West. I think that's I think that's the way they should approach every season now. And if they fall short of that, they should look at it as underachieving or disappointing.
When is it realistic for fans to start expecting production from this recruiting class? I'm sure there's guys, Nolan, is such a highly recruited guy. I'm sure he'll contribute early, and some of the big 5-star guys will get their shots. But it's 2023 and 2024 where fans should really realistically start expecting that these guys should pay off maybe into college football playoff caliber teams?
Well, I think that as far as the individuals, you look at it and you say, hey, give them a year to get ready to adapt to the college game, and that's fair. So if you looked at it under that microscope, 2023 would be the year where you say, okay, this is the year to really make a move because theoretically you'll have a quarterback now with a year of starting experience under him, and all those guys from this class will be, theoretically ready. But that said, A&M's been recruiting well for several years. They've had 4 top 10 classes in a row. How long do you have to wait before you can say, all right, now, before you can keep saying next year? So I think they should go in this year realistically feeling like they have a shot. Walter Nolan, he'll probably play. Evan Stewart, I think, great chance that he's going to play a lot, maybe even start. And if things fall just right, Cam Dewberry, a guard, from Kenyon Green's old high school, I think he has a chance to come in and start. Fisher has shown that he doesn't mind starting a freshman if he thinks he's the best guy. So I would expect to see several of those guys from this class make a contribution and maybe a few even starting. But I don't think you should have to wait on these guys to feel like you have a shot. Again, you've recruited pretty well the last couple of years. It's time for all those guys to come in and show they can play and show they can win at a high level. And you can't keep putting it off.
Olin, you had an article over on TexAgs about the linebacker position and then reflecting back on Buddy Johnson and the impact that he had. Can you kind of just summarize what fans can check out if they read that article and just talk about your intent there as far as what they may be missing or what they're looking for at linebacker?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier, they need to find that inside linebacker who could diagnose the play, step into the hole, and end the play at contact. And I think that they didn't have that last year. I think Aaron Hansford is better as an outside linebacker. He wasn't as effective moving inside. I think Edgerrin Cooper, the freshman last year, showed a lot of athleticism, great speed, good instincts, but I don't think he was ready to be that guy. Now, he might be, but the fact of the matter is 2 years ago, A&M played an all-SEC schedule and was second in the nation in run defense. They gave up one run of over 30 yards. It was a 42-yard run by Tank Bigsby of Auburn. No shame in giving up a big run to him. But then last year, now, understand they did play more games, but still, they were like 35th. They dropped like 33 positions in run defense and gave up 5 runs of 30 yards or more, and then there was like 8 or 12 of 20 yards. It just wasn't the same. And I think, yeah, you can say Miles Jones, a cornerback who's very physical, was out. He didn't play much, and they missed Bobby Brown. But I really think it came back. You just didn't have that reliable linebacker play. You didn't have that guy in the middle that could go and diagnose the play and make that tackle. Sometimes they'd make the hit, and guys would run through it. And I think because Buddy was a 4th-round draft choice, maybe some forgot just how good he was or took it for granted. But he had a hellacious year in 2020, and they really missed him. So they got to find somebody that can play linebacker the way he played linebacker.
All right, Olin, if Jimbo Fisher called you up and said, Olin, you're the only guy who can make this decision, which one would you make for him and why?
What do you mean?
Like position-wise right now. What do you think? Where would you say this guy's got to be the guy?
Are you meaning quarterback or
anywhere? I'm sorry, this probably didn't word it the right way, but yeah, quarterback anywhere, any position battle where he would ask you, who would you think? Where would you go?
Man, you know what? I think I would have to find a way to make sure that Evan Stewart is in the starting lineup as a wideout, because one of the things that A&M has missed on the offensive side is they haven't had that deep threat. The guy that defenses they can't bring 9 or 10 guys in the box because they're afraid somebody's going to run right by you. They have it with Caleb Chapman, except Caleb Chapman has missed more games with injuries over the last 2 years than he's actually played. So you can't count on him. So I would think the guy that could really bring another element to the A&M offense is Evan Stewart.
Olin, thank you. Appreciate your time. As always, great to talk a little football with you, and we will do that with 4 different programs today, including Texas A&M with Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Around the corner, good friend of ours, former intern back in the day, Alexis Cubit, covers Clemson. They had a hell of a defense, but they couldn't score. What are they now? Clemson and Alexis Cubit. She'll join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with a couple of locations in Texas, Waco and Bryan, 80 miles apart or so. In Waco, they're building a brand new facility that's going to be bigger, better, faster, and stronger, and only allows them to be better, and that's hard, than what they've been since 1943, when they have served customers, many hundreds, thousands of customers and businesses with all sorts of, you need product like steel, metal, pipe. And that's what they do. That's what they also excel at. And they are great at helping people through projects like metal buildings and so much more. So commercial or real estate, if you need pipe, steel, or metal, you can go to Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where they can help you with that, whatever location. PioneerBoys.com online, and PioneerBoys.com online since 1943.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line. From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental. Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
3rd and goal. Here's Chapin into the end zone, and how about that swagger? Another touchdown pass for Chapin. Ben Sims on the receiving end of this one.
It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Max is not here today. He's on vacation this week and back with us, we hope, at some point next week. Enjoy the time away. We're not joined. We go from A&M to Clemson. Alexis Cubit, one of our favorites. The State newspaper covers Clemson at the State as well. And at Alexis_Cubit, C-U-B-I-T on Twitter. Alexis, thank you very much. Great to have you here and on the show. So last year, Clemson was pretty good, but they just struggled dramatically on offense. Is the offense going to be better this year?
That is the biggest question. I think it will be, just because I think they've learned a lot. I think guys have kind of got settled in. You obviously have a little bit of quarterback battle there. You have a new freshman coming in at wide receiver who unfortunately tore his ACL, but is hopefully going to be back by the fall. So you do have some new pieces. Obviously, you get back, the 3 biggest running backs that Dabo calls the 3-headed monster. So I think you'll definitely see a much improved offense.
Alexis, the offensive line was surprisingly, for the first time in maybe a decade for Clemson, a weak spot. What have they done to address that?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for them was just health. Like, they could not get guys healthy. They get one back and another one gets injured. They get that guy back, another one tears his ACL. So it was just a lot of that was big. So I think in that they were able to kind of build up their depth with some of those younger guys. Marcus Tate was one of those guys that saw a little bit more playing time as a freshman, kind of thrown in there. Georgia was his first game. So, if that's not a trial by fire, I don't know what is. But he got that experience. You have some redshirt freshmen that Dabo was really high on this year, and guys like Tristan Lee and Ryan Linthicum. So, and then you also bring in 2 mid-year enrollees in Blake Miller and Colin Sadler. So they definitely have bulked up. And then, of course, the big thing is, will or won't Dabo go to the transfer portal for that O-line position? And according to him, they're looking into it. They're trying to find a guy in the portal from the O-line. So kind of be on portal watch for the next, I think, month or so is when he said they'd be looking to fill that position. So, but yes, I mean, they have a new, O-line coach in Thomas Austin who played at Clemson on the line. So you have a little bit of youth kind of in there. And so, yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see, where he can take them and how he can, get things back on track.
Alexis, that quarterback battle, I mean, obviously it was, kind of a tough season there at quarterback for DJ Uiagalelei. He's back. You'd think he's kind of the front runner, obviously being back, but there's this, 5-star, sensational freshman there from Texas and Cade Klubnik, who, I know a lot of Clemson fans have to be excited to see more of on Saturday. So what is that anticipation level for folks to see a bit more of him, and how much of a competition is this really in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys got a front row to what Cade can do there, being so close in the area. But I think right now it's still DJ. I mean, Dabo tends to honor seniority. I think because DJ hasn't done anything crazy, it's his position. I mean, he's, a hard worker. Everybody's rooting for him. He's got the respect of his teammates. So I think right now, he's a front runner. Obviously, he has experience. And I don't know. I just think that those games his freshman year against Boston College and Notre Dame just hold so much weight. Last year, yeah, he kind of went through a sophomore slump. Things didn't go his way. But like Dabo said, it wasn't just all on him. Like, yes, he did make some bad throws and such, but I mean, receivers weren't necessarily helping him out either. And they didn't necessarily have as much experience as they had in, past years where they had in, a T. Higgins or an Amari Rogers or, those kind of guys. But I mean, that doesn't change the fact that Cade is still there. He's obviously still competing and definitely, learning a lot, especially as a mid-year enrollee. So he's getting a jump on things. But yeah, and ironically, they're on different teams. So DJ is on the orange team, and then Cade is on the white team for the spring game this Saturday. So it's not like you'll have to wait. I mean, you're going to see them right away and see what Cade has to offer.
So Venables, Elliott, gone. So they have to replace them, which, that's part of what very elite programs and successful programs have to deal with. Any kind of interruption with that?
I don't think so. So the thing about Dabo is that, like, he talks about the reason why he doesn't particularly, quote unquote, care for the portal is because he runs a developmental program. Well, that extends to the coaching staff as well. I mean, you have Wes Goodwin, who, from the media outside world had never really heard of him, but, he worked under Bruce Arians and, had that NFL experience. He worked at Mississippi State, so he's got the SEC experience. And so now, he's been a defensive analyst under Brent Venables. So, it's not like it's just some, random person. He's come through the ranks and is now taking that spot. And then Brandon Streeter was obviously the quarterback coach with Tony Elliott, and now just kind of moving into that position, which for him is more of a natural fit because at Richmond and Liberty, he was, an OC and the quarterback's coach. So I don't think you're going to see too much change. One of the things Brandon has mentioned is tempo, adding a little more tempo to the offense. So maybe, that will be one difference. Wes is a lot different than Brent in that obviously Brent Venables had to have a get-back guy. I don't think Wes is going to have that problem too much. He seems a little more just not as outwardly expressive. But as far as like the fundamentals and stuff, I mean, he's taken over the linebackers like Venables was. So you'll definitely see a lot of continuity. But as Wes said, they've got some stuff that Venables doesn't know about, and he's got his own spin that he's going to put on things. So, and same with Brandon Streeter, as far as his experience and his background goes. So, I expect to see them kind of pick up where those guys left off and kind of continue that tradition that Clemson has established over the past decade or so.
Alexis, as some of that talk, I know when he made one of those hires originally is like, too buddy or stay too much. There was a little complaining about him staying too in-house or maybe not going out and getting somebody with a bit more of a pedigree or track record. Has that kind of subsided? I know he sort of addressed any criticisms at one point by saying, hey, I've been here for, a decade plus now. I think you trust my decisions at this point. Is that sort of, dissipated?
Yeah, I think so. I think because you've had enough guys at different levels vouch for Wes. Bruce Arians literally had a quote in the press release about him. You know, and then Brandon Streeter obviously is someone who's known around the football world just because he worked with Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. So, but yeah, I mean, that was the thing because we asked, you know, did you explore other candidates? You know, did you even interview anybody? But it sounds like, you know, Dabo's had this plan in place for a while. There's one thing I've learned about him, you know, in the almost year that I've been here, is that he's very intentional. And there's nothing ever, it doesn't seem like there's anything ever done without some kind of reason. So when he brought Wes in, you know, that was the plan. That's what he told Wes. The plan was that, you know, whenever Brent Venables retires or, you know, goes head coaching, like he would elevate to that position. I don't think he ever said anything like that to Brandon Streeter. But I mean, Brandon's only had worked under 2 coaches in, I think, his whole career. So he's obviously a very loyal guy. And so when Tony did take that position at Virginia, you know, I honestly thought that if there was a coordinator position that they'd maybe go out for, it would be the OC, especially with Graham Harrell out there at one point. But they stuck with it. And so, you know, I think there was a little bit of question as far as like, okay, you know, you didn't even interview anybody else. But, you know, I think at this point, Dabo's earned enough leeway to where you're just like, okay, well, let's just kind of see how this goes and kind of ride it out and see what happens this fall.
Who do you think their chief competition in the ACC will be this year?
So I think the biggest, I mean, obviously Pitt's still there. I would say Wake, but I mean, Wake had an outstanding year, but for whatever reason, Clemson just got their number because I was not expecting that game to go how it went this past season. NC State is obviously a big one. That's kind of a rivalry with a lot of on and off field things between the 2 coaches from our perspective. And then, you know, just that double overtime game there in Raleigh was really intense. And Clemson was very close to winning that one, which, you know, that loss is what basically knocked them out of the college football playoff and extending that 7-year streak. So yeah, I would say NC State, you got to put them in the mix. You got to put Pitt back in the mix, even though Kenny Pickett's gone. You know, Miami's kind of, you know, building their program there. They've got some things going and getting a lot of really good recruits. So, you know, if not this year, they'll definitely be in the mix at some point. But right now, yeah, I'd say I'd probably put, you know, Clemson, NC State, and Pitt up there. And, you know, Boston College did some good things too, and they get their quarterback back. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Now, at the same time, I still do think that for everybody else, Clemson is at the top, and that's the team to beat. But I think you're seeing that gap narrow, especially after last year when, you know, they kind of showed a little bit of weakness, for lack of a better word, in terms of, you know, showing maybe that they are a little beatable. But I mean, at the same time, they saw that, so they're going to make adjustments, and, you know, everybody else is going to make adjustments. So I think it'll be a lot of good competition in the conference this season.
Alexis, proud of you for what you're doing. Thanks for your time. Alexis Cubit covers Clemson and really more. She was at the women's Final Four as well, the state newspaper, and our update on Clemson. We'll hear from Cincinnati reporter Chad Brendel from BearcatJournal.com here momentarily. And then Mickey Spagnola in this hour on the Cowboys in the NFL. Craig's off the radar in about 30 minutes as well. The Masters right now, Dustin Johnson and Cameron Smith, 4 under. Cameron Smith in the clubhouse was at 6 under par, double bogeyed 18. Johnson, I think, is on 11, is going to tap in for a par and stay at 4 under par. Tiger finished up his round earlier today. He had a lot of putts, made a lot of par putts today. Not all, but most of them, in to finish at 1 under par. Chad Brendel joins us, BearcatJournal.com. What a year it was for Cincinnati and getting to the college football semifinals. And Chad, thanks for your time. We appreciate it a lot. So what do they do for an encore, my man?
Well, you try to run it back, right? You find out whether or not Luke Fickell has stocked this program with as much talent as we think he has. And the interesting part for UC fans, the last 3 recruiting classes, so these guys that have been waiting behind Desmond Ridder and Ahmad Gardner and so on, were the 3 highest rated recruiting classes in program history. So we've seen him do more with less. Let's see what he can do with more.
So what is the battle to replace Desmond Ridder look like right now?
It's interesting because I think many around the program thought they brought back in Ben Bryant, which Ben Bryant was the guy that was behind Desmond Ridder for 3 years, the first 3 years of Desmond Ridder's career. And then when Des decided to come back, Ben Bryant went to Eastern Michigan in the MAC and started and, had a really good year, threw for over 3,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, and then came back. So they basically sent him down to the minors, and then they called him back up. And people kind of believed with his experience, he was going to be really difficult to beat when this quarterback battle heated up. But I tell you what, the highest rated recruit in Cincinnati football history, Evan Prater, is not going out without a fight. It has been a really fun spring to watch these two guys go back and forth and watch one guy have a big day and then the next day the other guy answers. So it's been a really good spring. It's been a very healthy competition. And the interesting thing is Brian is more of the traditional pocket passing, big arm, textbook quarterback, where Prater's got a big arm, but he can really run. And there's a lot of times back there when you see him get out in space, you're like, oh, it kind of looks a lot like Des out there. So it's been a lot of fun to watch the two of them compete.
We've talked to a lot of Baylor players and coaches who, whenever you bring up last year, they acknowledge it very briefly and then move on. And they, it's in the past. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have any bearing really on this year other than it just let them know, like, hey, this is what we can accomplish when we work hard. Has there been a similar mentality that all those Cincinnati's experiencing these great heights that last year was last year and it's up to this year's team to build off and create their own story?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because so many of those pieces are gone, right? I mean, Cincinnati's looking at 8, potentially 9 guys are going to get drafted at the end of the month. And, the identity, the core of that team, the leadership of that team is gone. So this is essentially a very new feel, a very new type of team in comparison. Like when you look at, 2 years ago when they went to the Peach Bowl and they lost to Georgia, most of that team returned. There were a couple guys that moved on, but Ridder and Gardner and, like the Kobe Bryant and all the names that became household names this year, they were all back. This time it's got a different feel to it. So I think it's a lot of guys looking to prove themselves and a lot of guys that didn't get a lot of time last year to kind of rely on that. You know what I mean? Like that thought process that we're running it back. This isn't running it back. This is more, we got to prove we've got some staying power now.
Chad, I had a question for us on our text line. When you talk to Chad, I'm curious to know how many 4- and 5-star recruits are now able to get from big high schools from Cincinnati and Dayton?
That's going to be interesting. They just lost out on a tough one. They had their number one target was a kid named Malik Hartford that they did a phenomenal job recruiting, but Ohio State hired away Cincinnati's DB coach and put him at Malik Hartford's position, and now Malik Hartford is going to Ohio State. So that's a tough one. The reality is you're probably not going to beat out Ohio State on those kids, but Ohio State is very selective in Ohio. So there are some kids that, they're going to have a chance to go after, especially the local ones, which, now that you're going to be in the Big 12 and you've got a history of winning, you've got a proven coach and a proven culture, each year it's going to be easier and easier to knock down those doors.
Yeah, the good news is they don't have to beat Ohio State, except for, once in a blue moon. So, Chad, you mentioned the draft at the end of the month. I was curious what you thought Desmond Ridder really slots out as somebody who watched him over his career.
I may be biased here, but you're starting to hear this more and more and more. I think he's the number one quarterback in the draft because I think he is that complete package of arm talent, leadership, knowledge, ability to run. I mean, Cincinnati ran a very pro-style offense. If you look at their passing concepts and the way that they operated, He knows how to read defenses. He knows how to get in and out of his checks. And he's a guy that we heard stories when he was a true freshman, when he was redshirting. Like, we heard stories then about how guys just flocked to him as a leader. We saw it play out for 4 years. He's benefited from the fact this isn't a draft with a Trevor Lawrence or somebody like, major at the top of it. But I think as more and more NFL teams are getting to know him, you're starting to hear his name come up as that number one quarterback more often. I think probably middle of the first round, somewhere right around 15 to 20 sounds about right. But I wouldn't be shocked if somebody falls in love with him over this month through the visit process and takes him early.
Chad, what was the reaction around Cincinnati with the news about Bob Bowlesby stepping down as Big 12 commissioner?
Not a lot of reaction yet. I don't think the fan base is like hyper engaged on the Big 12. I think that'll probably happen when they have a date. Like, Cincinnati starts July 1st, 2023. I think the focus will turn then. I think there was, some curiosity. A lot of people wondering how much say Cincinnati would have in the new commissioner. I tried to explain to them very little. As I explained it last night on one of our YouTube shows, I said, look, Cincinnati just bought a house in the neighborhood. You don't buy the house in the neighborhood and then control the homeowners association at the same time. That's not how this stuff works. You got to build a little equity in the neighborhood before you start calling the shots. So there's people that are at least keeping an eye on it, but I don't think it has drawn a ton of attention yet, because I think people are just waiting to hear, like, this is the day that Cincinnati's in the Big 12.
Chad, is there a sense that after the crazy game of musical chairs that we had in college football coaching, and Luke Fickell stared down many opportunities he could have thrown his hat in and said at Cincinnati that if I know that it'll never be like this because his name's always going to come up when a big job comes up, but if he could stare down those jobs and say no, that outside of Ohio State maybe coming open, that people are at ease?
Yeah, I think he's made it pretty clear. Are there a couple things he would listen to, or, he's always going to, keep his options at least somewhat open. But as long as Cincinnati is doing what he feels needs to be done to push the program forward and to compete at the highest levels of the sport, he's happy here. And I know it's hard for people to believe that, because so many coaches have said that and just been talking out their rear end. But Luke Fickell's a different guy. Like, generally, if he says something, he means it. And, it's been really interesting to watch play out. The Notre Dame thing, like, Cincinnati got lucky, if you want me to be honest, in my opinion, because any other year, he would have listened. And who knows what would have came out of that. But with his team playing for a championship and occupied through the first of the year, he told Notre Dame, look, if you want to talk, you can come talk. You guys heard about what he did with his contract, right?
I don't know if we did. When was it and what was it?
So what happened was week 7, his athletic director went into his office and said, Luke, here's your contract. Here's your extension. And it was, $1 million a year raise. And Luke said, thanks, but I'm busy right now. I'm going to put this in my briefcase, and we'll talk about it after the season. And that's what he did with Notre Dame. That's what he did with everybody that called. He's like, I'm busy. I got things to take care of. I got work to do. If you want to talk to me about business that's outside of this team, you're going to have to talk to me after the season. And that's how authentic Luke Fickell is. Could you imagine just throwing $1 million a year raise in your briefcase and being like, we'll get back to that in 2 months?
That is not quite the same, but it's very much similar to Dave Aranda. When all the chirping was going on, as all these these jobs opened up, LSU and USC and others as well. He and Mac Roach talked every day, But basically, he didn't want to have anything to do with that until they had taken care of all their business, and even then waited until his staff was finalized much later after they'd won the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole new world when you have a coach that you can trust. And Cincinnati has been in a situation where, Brian Kelly, Butch Jones, Mark D'Antonio even, they were always looking for their, that big ride out of town. And Luke Fickell just seems content. If something crazy comes along that blows him away, I'd never stay. Like, he's going to be here for his whole career or whatever the case may be. But he's the one guy that has earned the respect of, if he says it, you believe him because he's been honest so far. So you take somebody at their word, right?
Yep.
Well, and Chad, I think we're kind of in a new spot with a lot of coaches where, if the money is as great as it is, and it's great, it's got to be great everywhere. Now, I know that sometimes you get bowled over and be like, well, I'm going to have to take $9 million. I mean, when are you going to get a chance to do that? But what's the difference between $5 million and $6 million if the state you're going to might have more taxes and the place you're going to might be a bigger headache than the one you're already at, and your kids are happy, your wife's happy, you like your golf course and everything like that? Like, why leave?
The grass isn't always greener, I think, is what a lot of coaches have learned. How many of these guys have been on the come up and they're climbers and they keep climbing and climbing and climbing, and then they get to a rung of the ladder that was too big for them, and next thing you know, that guaranteed I'm happy $4 million a year becomes I got my $7 million a year, but I also got fired, and now I have to go be an assistant coach again.
Yep.
I think they're looking around and realizing that that's the reality that's out there right now.
Chad, thank you very much for being a part of it. Can't wait as we close in, as we count it down eventually to the Big 12 and adding Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and also Brigham Young. And also prayers to Kelly, your wife, as she continues to be as tough a person as you could imagine. Thanks for your time today.
Appreciate you guys, and always love jumping on and talking with you. Anytime you need me, you know where to find me.
Yes, sir. That's Chad Brendel again, BearcatJournal.com for 247 Sports Network. When we come back, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. And then also, Craig's Off the Radar. Paul's top 5 today. Paul, is it on Bowlesby?
It is.
And the Big 12 and the Commissioner Search and more. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. I usually start with what cigars they have, and I'll get to that. And I've also mentioned their coffee beans, fresh coffee beans that you can pick up like that yourself and grind them yourself, and or they'll do that for you. But also there are the CBD products, including VitaDreams. If, in fact, you struggle to fall asleep at night, no matter if there's you're calm, no matter if there's nothing like whirling around in your head that creates maybe anxiety, but you just sometimes struggle, more often than not, falling asleep. They have a product, CBD product called VitaDreams. VitaDreams a gummy. You eventually kind of learn how much you want, whether it's a gummy, a bite of a half a gummy, whatever it might be, and you will. I'm telling you, you will find yourself falling asleep quicker, faster, peacefully, and next thing you know, you wake up and you're like, damn, I saved myself 30 minutes to an hour of sleep instead of tossing and turning. Now, listen, there are some nights, no matter what's going on with you, it could be at work, it could be personal, it could be financial, it could be you don't feel well, well, it doesn't matter. But even then, it helps a lot better. VitaDreams, and of course, I've told you about the great cigars in their 48-foot walk-in humidor. At Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, tell Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne that Smokey sent you.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. My goodness, for years and years and years. I remember when he started the newsletter back in the day when it came in on the fax machine. Mickey, back in the day, what was like 92 or 3 or something like that?
It was 92. We started it when we went to training camp that year in Austin.
And it was a fax newsletter. You got it. You had subscribed to it. It was amazing and popular. And then, of course, eventually whatever you're doing, of course, which is everything with DallasCowboys.com. So the Cowboys have had kind of their local pro day, and they're starting to bring in, of course, those who are names that they are interested in. I asked a question about this earlier. Do you ever bring somebody in you're really not interested in, or do you ever not bring somebody in you really do want as mind games, or is that just silly, wasted time?
Yeah, I think it's silly, wasted time. I think 2 things happen. One, you bring guys in that you want to find out more about in your atmosphere when they're away from where they're at, because they're more comfortable on their pro days. And then 2, you bring some guys in that you're you're still trying to figure out more about. Guys that maybe you didn't get a chance to meet with at the Senior Bowl or the Combine. And, when you go to pro days, you don't get a chance, like if there's 32 teams there, like the other day I guess it was yesterday at LSU, you don't get a chance to get a one-on-one with the players. So sometimes they just bring in guys that they don't know enough about. And it's not like a ruse or anything. And then they might be 4th-round picks or 5th-round picks. It's not all about just the first round.
Mickey, do you see a scenario in which a player would start maybe falling a little bit and the Cowboys could get aggressive and move up from 24? And how far do you think they'd be willing to move? Like, how far would that player have to have fallen for them to get aggressive? Because this is a team that's pretty conservative in the first round right now.
Yeah, and I don't know that in this draft, by the time you get to the territory of 24, you can't sit there and go, okay, that's just got to be the guy I have, because if he's that good, he should be gone by then. I could see maybe 3 or 4 spots up. And I could also see if you get to 24 and you have 3 or 4 guys that you're still saying, okay, if I had any one of those guys, I'm happy with. There might be a team that says, you know what, I still need that quarterback and I need to move up. You can trade down to 28, something like that, and get one of the guys you're interested in. So I think going down is probably more likely than going up. Sort of like what they did when they drafted Travis Frederick. Remember, they dropped down to, I think it was 31st, and they picked up a 3rd for their trouble. And they were in that, 20 range, 23 range. And they not only did that, but they picked up a 3rd-round pick. I believe it turned into Terrence Williams.
Mickey, how much the Cowboys last year did a really, really good job with solidifying their defense in the secondary with a lot of these one-year deals and whatever. They do lose Keanu Neal to Tampa Bay. Is that something that they'll just keep on reloading that way?
Well, I think from the Keanu Neal, and I don't mean to correct you, they didn't lose him. I don't think they wanted to re-sign him.
Okay.
Is what happened. And in their mind, for that role that he played 50% of the snaps as a nickel linebacker. I think they felt like between what Jaron Kearse gave him as a safety and getting Jabril Cox back, and they kind of looked at him as a nickel linebacker, like a weak side guy to team maybe with Micah Parsons. They felt like that position was solidified. And again, instead of getting older, you're trying to get younger. So I think that was a conscious decision that between those two guys, and I've heard either McCarthy or maybe it was Stephen Jones basically point out that they had that position covered with those two guys.
Mickey, have you, I know you dive into it. We talked about it with David Hellman. Did you get draft crushes? You had one last year on Micah Parsons and it worked out. Do you have one this year?
Yeah, but they're going to be all gone, right? By the time we get to 24. It's a different thing when you're picking, what were they picking, 10th last year, and they dropped to 12th. And it's easy to find one of those guys. I haven't seen just somebody that you've got to have. But, when I'm looking at these things, I haven't, there's so many defensive ends that are available. And then all of a sudden I noticed that these defensive tackles, like half the team of Georgia, they might be available that late, one of them. And so, although I do have one, I'm not sure, he's a first round pick, but the defensive tackle from Oklahoma, I want to say, I hope I say his name right, Perrion Winfrey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen the highlights of that kid?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were taping the show, The Blitz, last week, and this guy flashed across the line of scrimmage, not across, but alongside the line of scrimmage, and just nailed the guy with the ball. And he was wearing number 8. And I asked Bill Jones, I said, who's that linebacker? He goes, that's no linebacker. That's a defensive tackle. He's 340 pounds. And it's like he moved like a linebacker. So I've seen his name come up, somewhere in the second round. But I also noticed that I saw one list that was projecting who the Cowboys were bringing in for their pro days, and he was on it. And so if I got a crush now, it's like I can find, and this will be similar to last year with Micah Parsons when somebody asked me, well, you got, Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch and this guy and that guy. Where are you going to play them? I said, on the field. And so the Cowboys, they've got depth at the defensive tackle position. And today somebody said, well, where are you going to play them? And it's like, hey, same answer, on the field. I'll find a spot for a guy if he can play that well at that big a size.
Well, and Micah Parsons can accelerate an expiration date on somebody who's not as good as him pretty quickly, Yeah,
exactly. And again, and they're going to use him in a linebacker spot. I was glad to hear Mike McCarthy kind of point that out when he got the question. He said, because if I put him at defensive end, he goes, I'm an offensive coach. I'd love to know where Micah Parsons lining up, down in and down out. But his versatility, if he's going to be linebacker, he could be on the line of scrimmage, he could be blitzing, he could be dropping. He goes, as an offensive coach, that causes me more problems. So, he's a linebacker, and we'll see where it goes from there.
You never know from one year to the next, and there's now more film on him, but he also has more film and tendency on everyone else. But he does seem to be, because we've heard the comparisons, which can be dangerous, but he does seem to be somebody that doesn't just enjoy the fact he was damn good his rookie year, that he wants to be among the all-time greats. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. He was not satisfied, even though, he had the year he had as a rookie, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, defensive rookie of the year. But again, his point was, but we didn't win, meaning you didn't win a playoff game. And he feels like he's got so much more room to get better. And I'll guarantee you, every play, and he thinks he should, you remember the Hard Knocks thing, when Van Der Esch said something like, well, you think you should make every tackle. And he goes, absolutely. And he does think that, right? He thinks he should make every tackle. And so you kind of like that in a guy like that, and his nature and his desire to get better.
Mickey, thank you. We're closing in on the draft, which gives us even more fodder and discussion. We can't wait. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the start of the Major League Baseball season.
Absolutely. We're 3 weeks away today for the start of the draft. Baseball starts. Basketball's getting ready to start, and the hockey's coming down the stretch.
And it's the opening round of the Masters.
And it's the Masters, too.
Absolutely. Thank you, buddy. As always,
okay,
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, with us Thursdays in the 4 o'clock hour, normally at around 4:30. When we come back, Craig Smoak off the radar. In the 5 o'clock hour, we'll check in with Nebraska as they have a spring game Saturday with Mitch Sherman. Also, we'll go to Augusta National with Art Strickland and Paul's Top 5. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They have a ton of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr, and they are celebrating 23 years in business in Central Texas. New cars and trucks are arriving weekly. You can go by the dealership or go online to richardcarr.com to see current inventory, and you can see all the GMC Buick and Cadillacs that are en route to the dealership. By putting your name on the inbound vehicle list, you can get your vehicle before anyone else. If you need a car today and you want to save, consider one of their dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks. All of their pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection so you can drive them with peace of mind. Richard Carr pays top dollar on your trade, and with dozens of lending options, they say yes to loans when others say no. As I mentioned, 23 years in the automotive business. In those 23 years, the motto has been people you can count on. Whether it's sales, their award-winning collision center and service center, at which I actually have personal experience with, and I've had it twice in the last year, unfortunately, but it's been taken care of, and they've done a great job. So I can definitely back up the people you can count on slogan. Richard Carr is the dealer you can count on for a great deal and superior service for the life of your car. And they are loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All go through a 172-point inspection, as I mentioned earlier. And they have over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you in a car today, as 100% credit approval is always the goal. For qualified buyers, you can buy a truck now, get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. They've got a lot of different options for you. New, get on that inbound vehicle list. Pre-owned, got them ready to go. Check it out. They've all been inspected. They've all been checked, and they will all be a comfortable and safe ride for you to get in and feel good about. So go online or come by for a test drive today. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar, taking a look at a few stories outside of our normal discussion, and we'll start off with the XFL. The Rock and his ex-wife, but still business partner, Danny Garcia, they made news a few months back when it was announced that they had purchased the rights of the XFL from WWE president, chairman, owner, what have you, Vince McMahon. Of course, McMahon with 2 go-rounds with the XFL. The first time was just an absolute disaster. Ratings plummeted very quickly. And really, it turned into a 30 for 30. It was so bad it turned into a 30 for 30, but then they attempted to relaunch it. And unfortunately for them, they got hit by the pandemic. Just the timing of it. Just so happened that when they made their comeback, so did the pandemic made its debut, and that wiped them out pretty quickly. I think Vince finally caught wind of maybe this is a sign that I'm just not meant to be a football league owner. I failed twice now with this, so he sold it to The Rock and his ex and business partner Danny Garcia. Well, yesterday they unveiled the new logo for the XFL, and they've been good about, quite honestly, just kind of keeping themselves in the news with just little things here and there, whether it be The Rock saying something or, just the announcement of how they're going to do things. But they debuted the new logo yesterday, and there you have it, XFL 2023, because, of course, they're not returning until next year. Some early thoughts. People thought this was the Axe body spray logo.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so that's kind of a basis point for some. I might have ruined y'all's opinion of it now by saying that. No. But what do y'all think of the new XFL logo? Again, the league coming back next season.
I like it. I like simple. I think sometimes you can be too splashy. I like the way that they've cut off some of the edges of the letters.
I'll tell you, as soon as Craig said Axe body spray,
See, I ruined
it's
it.
now all I can see. I think it still looks good. And now that you said it also, it reminds me of an old SNL sketch with Ryan Gosling in it called Papyrus, where the center of it is that the guy is upset because the Avatar logo for the movie Avatar was just Papyrus, and a graphic designer just did that. That's what it looks like here. He just copied and pasted it.
I like simple.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. You know what I thought happened? I thought I was doing one of those eye tests, and they say here or here.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is similar. But, look, they need sponsorships. Why not maybe trick Axe body spray into...
They did not cut off any of the edges of the letters.
No, that's why it's wildly different. Yeah, wildly different. See, no, it's not the same. The X has a split in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but awfully similar, and that was kind of the first, and so that might have ruined people's opinions of it if they had just seen it without, having that interjected. But, there's the new logo. They continue to hype it up. With The Rock at the helm, I think that they'll get a lot of attention, or at least be able to keep attention. But we are less than 2 weeks away now, fellas, from the USFL's launch. And then a year from now, really, about a year from now, it'll be the XFL launching. So another wave of these new leagues, and we've seen this before. We've seen it plenty of times. There was a run on this about, 3-4 years ago. You had the AAF, and you had the Spring League, and you had... a bunch of characters like Johnny Manziel still trying to make the league, and that's all kind of aged out at this point. But do y'all have any sense of hope for these leagues? I do with the XFL, just simply because with The Rock behind it, I do think that he's going to find a way to make it work somehow. And I do think that it's just never been done correctly. I do think there is space for more football. Well, I just don't know that anybody's ever done it very well.
The USFL was on a successful track. Their problem was they grew too fast, and they listened to the wrong people when it came to what they should be. And as to not start a political argument anywhere, that wrong person I'm not going to name, but we all know who he was.
Well, you've always said it three times in your...
Look, Donald Trump wrecked the USFL.
It's not his fault that everybody listened to him. Other people should have been able to stand up and say, no, we shouldn't do this.
No, but...
all leagues screw up when they try to expand too early.
Yeah.
Period.
It's his fault for having the idea, though. So and then taking charge of the thing and running into the rocks and not listening to anyone else.
He's also had a lot of ideas that were amazing, but this one was not.
Yeah. Agree to disagree. But I think that if they just stay being a spring football league and being what they are and not growing too fast, they'll be fine. But that's not what they all try to do.
All right. Elsewhere, the Freddie Freeman and Braves situation is interesting, as Ronald Acuna was part of an interview with Albert Pujols, and they were, Jansen Pujols, journalist Jansen Pujols, and they were doing a little interview back and forth on Skype, and they were talking about Freddie Freeman's departure from the Braves, and how much of a surprise it was, and what did you think about him going to the Dodgers and all of that. And it was interesting to hear Acuna. Here was the question: what are you going to miss the most about Freddie Freeman? He said, "Me, nothing." You didn't talk to him? No. You guys weren't close? We were close in that we shared the same stadium, but we had a lot of, lots of clashes. Yeah, lots of clashes. He didn't go into further detail about what the clashes were. He just talked about how he got picked on a lot as a rookie by the veterans, and one of those incidents they assume was referring to Freeman, in which he got eye black, like physically wiped off of his face, which, unless you're in that, not being there, I don't know how embarrassing that was or whatever the case may be. But while there are a lot of Braves fans that are going to miss Freddie Freeman, apparently there's a pretty good player remaining in Atlanta that's not going to miss him, it appears, at all.
Well, their actual best player in Ronald Acuna. And a lot of it had to do with it, I guess, the hazing or the rules or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, look, Freddie Freeman could kill somebody in Atlanta, and there's a million people that will hide the body. So, I mean, he's that popular. So, but Ronald Acuna is about to be that anyway, and he was hurt last year. I was kind of surprised to hear that, but look, not everybody loves the nice guy in the clubhouse, the Freddie Freemans. The guys like that. Not every, like Joey Votto for the Reds is one of the most popular players across Major League Baseball and one of the nicest guys in the world, apparently. But I'm sure there's some people like, I don't like that guy either. So
elsewhere, Lamar, an interesting move expected to be announced on Friday. They just joined the Western Athletic Conference a year ago, and they were leaving the Southland to go to the WAC a year ago, and now, a year later, they're going back to the Southland, apparently. There is supposed to be an announcement at some point. I guess it was released right as we went on the air that they will be holding a press conference on Friday at 11 a.m. And the expected announcement is that they will, in fact, be going back to the Southland Conference. Back in November, you had Sam Houston. They decided to join Conference USA. So just the shuffling continues. And the WAC, of course, announced that Incarnate Word would be coming over. UT Arlington as well, although it's not a football school. And then Southern Utah set to join the WAC in 2022. So as much as we talked about like the Big 12 and all the realignment going on there, it's really the lower levels that experience the most. But interesting that, you played 1 year in the WAC. You obviously didn't like it. It didn't go very well. They were winless in conference, and I guess they saw enough and decided to throw in the towel and head back to where they were.
I could not, if you said, here's $1 million, tell me who was in every conference and the names of the conferences, I would absolutely, I couldn't, I maybe could have 20 years ago. And I mean, I know a lot has changed, but I'm clueless on them all.
I don't know who's in the Sun Belt.
No, yeah, I mean,
I can't tell you Conference USA, they're just my alma mater is in the WAC, and yet I also sometimes even forgot that. Not that they had moved, but the name of the conference is the Big West. It's so nuts. You almost need a roadmap. You really do, and it changes tomorrow.
Is the Big Sky still a thing?
Probably.
Yeah, I just find it very weird to leave and then come back a year later. I mean, I think that's kind of odd. But when you go winless, I suppose against your new conference mates, that's enough of a reason. But I don't know how much more there is to that. But apparently, they're going to be announcing that officially tomorrow.
Back to the Braves, if you don't mind, Freddie Freeman. Acuna, he also said a lot of veterans picked on him. I wonder why he singled out Freddie Freeman.
Well, he was talking about, I don't think he's like, hey, Freddie Freeman, blah, 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 but that was the inference, he was talking about Freddie Freeman amongst that group of veterans. He didn't specifically say him, but that's what was inferred.
Okay.
All right, the men's national championship game was, earlier this week. We had to wait a little while to get the ratings for Kansas and North Carolina. I know a lot of people expected it to be just a bonanza of ratings, and it was good numbers, but it wasn't like, just jaw-dropping numbers. Averaged 17.05 million viewers. That was on TBS, True TV, TNT as well. It got up to about 18.1 when you add in the additional streaming. But down slightly from Baylor and Gonzaga, at least the initial numbers were, which averaged 17.08 million. And if you add the streaming audience, then it decreases a little bit. But the Nielsen reported audience per Sports Media Watch increased 7% over Villanova and Michigan in 2018, but declined 4% from Villanova, North Carolina in 2016, which was 17.75 million. But what was the most interesting part about the ratings is the fact that the national championship game was not the highest watched game. Why do you think that is? Maybe because Duke and North Carolina played in the round before. So that one knocked it out of the park. That averaged 17.66 and then 18.5 when you add in streaming. The title game was healthily watched, but wasn't anywhere near the most watched game of the last several years, nor was it the most watched game of this tournament, because that went to Duke and North Carolina. I don't think that's probably much of a surprise.
Yeah, that game, the crescendo, the build-up, you could see the collision course after North Carolina beat Baylor in overtime, and it lived up. It was as good and lived up to all of the hype and then some. That's no question. And late at night, perfect prime time.
Yeah, I'll just do a final note here. MLB announced their new media rights deal with Peacock. 18 late morning and early afternoon Sunday windows that will run from May 8th through September the 4th. The simulcast the first game of the package, which will be White Sox, Red Sox on May the 8th, and then all the remaining games will be exclusively on the Peacock network. They're getting back into Major League Baseball broadcasting, first time since 2000, and they will be 10:30 our time, first pitches, which will be kind of interesting, the first 6 games of that schedule, and the remaining games will start at 11 a.m. Central Time. So you're going to have some early baseball action, but the Peacock game will be the only one played until 1:30 East, and they will also carry the All-Star Futures game. So just finding ways to get more baseball on TV at different times and different options for people. And elsewhere in baseball coverage, TBS, with their Tuesday MLB games, apparently Bob Costas is going to be one of their new play-by-play voices for that TV package, MLB on TBS. He won't be on every broadcast. He'll split some time with others. Bob Costas will be working as well. So,
one of the Hall of Fame greats.
I always thought that was the best thing he did was play-by-play.
It was, but then he started to get a little bit over the edge with some things, and people were offended by whatever his opinions were.
I don't know if anybody was. I don't think you're necessarily offended by Bob Costas. He isn't the kind of guy like he's not offensive like Howard Stern or someone could be, where they like push the envelope. I think you're just like, man, how pompous are you?
No, pompous is probably a better word.
It was just like, okay, like you're entitled to that opinion and great, but like the way you're saying it to me is really...
What's happened is a lot of people who are, and Craig, great stuff, fantastic stuff, but one of the things that we're seeing now is that some have a role. That doesn't mean they can't stretch their role, just like what we can't. But it does seem to be as if some just can't help themselves, that they have to eventually take on an opinion that they've just been like seething inside of them for a long, long time. Bob Costas is great at baseball. Great at baseball. So good luck with that as well. I did not know about the Peacock deal. That's good news. I love watching baseball in the late morning, early afternoon, not just because it's Patriots Day or whatever, or opening day as it might be. By the way, Mike, games on the chat room, then we break, come back with another guest on college football, made the comment, I don't think we need another spring football league. No, he basically said we already have an extra professional league. It's called the SEC. And they're making more money than the guys will make in the XFL. I don't know.
They play in the fall.
Yeah, no, I know. I know that. No,
I get his point, but yeah, maybe that's the grand plan. Maybe they break off like that was the rumor, a year ago, was they eventually 20-something teams or whatever the case may be break off. Go right ahead. That's where it's heading. That's where it's heading. But yeah, until then, until that's established or until that ever occurs, there's always going to be people trying to, live off the football and try to be that next great league. And that's why we see it every year. There's some new league that pops up, and why, even though
3 and 4 of them failed, 3 years ago, whether it was COVID related or not. That's why here we are, and there's 3 new leagues again, and they're all getting ready to start up in the next year or so.
And you wonder if they'll last even into the first year. We've seen the spring league, and we saw that COVID killed this and killed that and this and that. When we come back, Mitch Sherman covers Nebraska for theathletic.com. They have their spring game, our 4th team we hit today, and more, of course, as we go on. It's a big chunk of games this weekend. Also, Art Strickland from Augusta National, where right now M is leading at 5 under par and has 3 holes yet to play. That's now the top number, with Dustin Johnson right below it, Cam Smith in the clubhouse at 4 under, and Scotty Scheffler in the clubhouse at 3 under. Tiger shot 1 under par. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. If you have dental work you need done, even if it's minor, even if it's teeth, like the hygienist, if you want to, like teeth cleaning, Stonewood Dental is who you should call. And if you haven't already been there, well, I'm telling you right now, do that. Stonewood Dental, not just because of what Dr. Steve Childress does, they have an amazing staff, as comfortable as you could ever imagine. And I've had some major dental work done in the last year or so, and Steve Childress, Dr. Steve Childress, is somebody that when I go there, I know there might be a needle going somewhere, but I'm comfortable because of how he handles that, and also whatever he has to do with a crown or a root canal. And it used to make me sick to my stomach to think about it, and that's why I have some dental issues right now. But I trust Steve Childress with everything, including from a teeth cleaning to major surgery. Dr. Steve Childress in Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They go to the eye. Play action. Bohannon back in the end zone. And a touchdown for Baylor. Drake Dabney's second catch of the drive, and it's good for 6.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It's our 4th team to check in with as we have a massive weekend of spring games. I don't know if many do better than what Nebraska does, although I don't know if it still has that same oomph because of the last few years. Mitch Sherman, theathletic.com, covers Nebraska football. Lots of changes. And Mitch, thanks for your time. I don't want to ask you the question, but I have to. Will those changes make a difference? Can you see a difference? Do the players and coaches truly believe there's a difference?
Well, I can see a difference in the things that they're saying, and I think there's a difference in the focus, some of the attitude around the program on the offensive side in particular. That's where the changes were made for the most part. Nebraska had a defensive line coach, Tony Tuioti, leave for Oregon, and then Scott Frost fired 4 offensive assistants with 2 weeks to go in the regular season in November. So you've got 4 new offensive assistants, including a coordinator, Mark Whipple, coming from Pitt, where he got Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, to the Heisman Trophy ceremony, and a special teams coordinator added to the mix. So yeah, I mean, there's a difference. There's some changes in the way that they're talking about this thing, but you know, we've seen that. We've thought we've seen that before, and those changes have not equated to more victories on the field in the 4 years under Scott Frost. So I'll wait until August 27th when the Huskers open in Dublin against Northwestern, and that is me bragging to you that I'm going to Ireland for the season opener in 4 months.
Do you get some lead time when you go early to scout out things for the Athletic?
You got to get your clock right.
Like a month, do you think? Would that do it?
Look, they just got sold. They got money.
I'm going to go like 3 days early. I think Nebraska's going out on Monday with the game on Saturday, August 27th. So I leave on Tuesday and get in Wednesday morning. So looking forward to the opener.
Yeah. Mitch, how's is there a legit quarterback competition, or is this Casey Thompson's job right now?
It's Casey Thompson's job. Scott Frost will not say that, has not said that. Interestingly, Whipple, the OC, said it on the first day of spring practice. So it had been through 1 out of 15 practices, and he said Casey's the guy taking the snaps with the number 1 offense. He was asked why. He said, well, because he's the best that we've got right now. Or take out the right now. He's the best that we've got. So, it's been his job through the spring. I think Logan Smothers, the returning third-year quarterback who was the backup to Adrian Martinez last season, started the Iowa game and played well in the season finale until things fell apart team-wide in the fourth quarter of that game. He's done well according to the coaches and teammates this spring, and he's a viable, legitimate number 2 quarterback if something is to happen to Casey, and that's assuming that Smothers decides to stick around. No indication that he's going to leave, but this is his 3rd year in the program, and he's now behind a player who wasn't there when he got there. So, there's going to be a new influx of players in the transfer portal across the country coming up here when spring ball ends on campuses, and it'll be interesting to see if any of these Nebraska quarterbacks join that mix. You have Chubba Purdy, the Florida State transfer. You have Heinrich Harburg, who is a year behind Smothers as a quarterback in the program. And then there's Richard Torres from San Antonio, who's an early enrollee this spring.
So, Mitch, what have you been able to gather in terms of what a Scott Frost offense now paired with a Mark Whipple offense will look like? How does that come together, and what does that look like differently from last year?
Well, Frost has really handed a lot of control, or all of the control, at least in the passing game, over to Whipple. So I think you can look at Pitt, you can look back at UMass when Whipple was the head coach there to get an indication of Nebraska and what they want to do in throwing the ball around. But then there's the running game element is going to be primarily dictated by Frost, and it seems that's where he's sunk his energy into this offense is in maybe going back to some of his roots and some of the more creative ways that they ran the ball when he was at Oregon as receivers coach and then as offensive coordinator. And of course you saw that in 2017 at UCF and that undefeated season with just ways that they got players the ball. And it wasn't always the running backs. Sometimes it's receivers carrying the ball. Nebraska has a deep group at running back and a talented group, I would say. Not quite as deep at receiver, especially after the departure unexpectedly of Xavier Betts this spring. He's a 4-star player out of the Omaha area who just didn't go into the portal, but just stepped away from football. So we'll see if that holds through the off season. There is likely a spot for him if he chooses to come back, but not any kind of real indication that that's going to happen. It thins Nebraska out a bit at the receiver spot. They do have Trey Palmer. A really talented, former 5-star kid out of Louisiana who followed his receivers coach, Mickey Joseph, the former Nebraska quarterback from LSU, up to Lincoln. So what Frost is going to do is just find ways to get those guys the ball, in the short passing game, in the run game. And then, we'll see if those two things are able to mold together. If there's a marriage that can exist between what Frost wants to do in the run game and what Whipple wants to do in airing things out.
I saw the Betts note. I wasn't sure if that was a transfer issue, injury, or, as you mentioned, needing a break. They can't catch a break sometimes. And, of course, sometimes that's just because of the program you get into a funk. But they're also struggling keeping just the local talent, and there's not a lot of it. But this year, isn't this a class that Nebraska, for the state of Nebraska, bang for your buck, is a pretty loaded year? And they're even losing some of them?
Well, if you're talking about the 22 class, the group that signed in December and February, yeah, and this sounds like nothing in Texas, but there were 4-star players from the Omaha area, which is a big deal for Nebraska. I mean, you're talking about a state with less than 2 million people, and to have 4-star kids in the largest city in the state, that's generally going to be a huge thing for the Nebraska Cornhuskers because you're going to get 3 or 4 of those guys. They got none. Tight end Caden Helms going to Oklahoma. Tight end Micah Riley Ducker going to Auburn. Offensive lineman Deshaun Woods was committed to Missouri, ended up decommitting, and he's going to Wyoming. And then Devin Jackson, a linebacker, off to Oregon. So you're not; these players are not going to, the bottom feeders in the Power 5 for the most part. And then this 2023 group is also a talented class in the state of Nebraska. And while the Huskers have 3 committed from the state, there are some others out there, including Malachi Coleman, who has a Georgia offer and an Oregon offer. He's an athlete from Lincoln East who is in no way a sure thing for Nebraska. And then Maverick Noonan, a defensive end out of Elkhorn South in Omaha. He's the son of Danny Noonan, who played for the Cowboys for a number of years and was an All-American defensive lineman at Nebraska. Maverick is not a sure thing for the Huskers either. He has a Stanford offer, and Iowa, of course, is after all of these kids too. So they are not locking up the borders in the past couple of years, and that's an indication, of some of the things that are awry in the Nebraska program.
Mitch, for Smokey's sake, one day I hope you can come on here and say, look, it feels like 1995 all over again here.
Well, that's the drum that Scott Frost wants to beat. Maybe not 1995, but certainly 1997 when he led this team to a championship.
Mitch, I know this is probably going to get asked to death in the next few months, but I am curious, what do Nebraska fans and what do Nebraska, as far as officials, need to see this year to feel like, okay, no, this thing is now properly moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I have been asked that before, so we'll get ready for more of that over the next 8 months. Scott Frost, his buyout is cut in half as of October 1st, and his salary was reduced by $1 million this season, with the opportunity to get that back up to the level that he was at in his first 4 years if Nebraska hits an undisclosed benchmark. What is that benchmark? That's the question that everybody wants to know, and it's not an answer that Trev Alberts, the athletic director, is giving. So, is it 6 wins and a bowl game for the first time since 2016? Is it 7 wins, so you win more than you lose? It's probably somewhere in that area. I don't think it's up in the 8-9 win range. And I don't know if it's entirely connected to just a win total. There may be some other factors that need to happen. Now, I think the standard thinking is if he doesn't hit that benchmark and he doesn't get his $1 million back, then there's probably not a whole lot of reason that Nebraska sees in staying with him beyond the 2022 season. That's not been stated. It's not in the contract written that way. But if you're going to put a specific number, which they have done, although they're not saying what that is, on this season, then that's definitely going to build up the perception that there's a lot of pressure here for him to make that mark.
Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate your time, and we'll hopefully get you on again right before the start of the season in August when workouts begin again. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Sounds good. Always good to talk to you.
Headed to Dublin, Ireland for that game against Northwestern to open up. That'd be a really long-ass road trip on the way back after you lose Northwestern or Northwestern loses to Nebraska.
Only slightly shorter than going to Odessa for your first high school game from here.
Yes, we do have the long trek.
We won't need 3 days to see everything in Odessa versus, going to Ireland. And Ireland's not that big of a place. So 3 days probably can see pretty much everything you need to there. But it's just amazing to me that he's in year 5.
It really, believe me, I felt every
5.
damn day of them. One note about our opening game in Odessa is at Ratliff Stadium, one of the great stadiums in the history of high school football, and that's one I've never been to. So we'll at least be able to check that off the old list.
Scott Frost was 19-7 at UCF, and he is 15-29 at Nebraska. So he has gone from 12 games over 500 in 2 years as a head coach to now 2 games under 500 since he rejoined his alma mater.
And I always wonder about that. Was UCF the level that was
We're
working
never going to
for
get
him?
to year 3. This is it. We're going to end up, this is our last show together.
But, I mean, was UCF the level he should have been at? Or was – and Scott Frost takes and deserves a lot of blame, but will we ever really know what a mess he stepped into? Because that's
a possibility
that you're never really privy to. So
you buy a house, you get it inspected, and they still find termites, right?
Oh, look, let's not talk about.
Or maybe it's a hot water heater that
just
leaks.
Look, I got to tell you, if I ever see the guy who remodeled my house before he sold it to me, I'm going to beat the ever-loving crap out of him.
He hooked up to Adrian Martinez, that was the future, and he was such a tease. I still like the kid. Mac Brown hooked up to Garrett Gilbert, and look what happened to him, and he had history behind him. And this is one that they just never, it's not worked out, and I'm stunned by it. Thought they would at least be a bowl team each year and each out. When we come back, we're going to check in Augusta National with Art Strickland. Right now, M leads. He had a nice par on 16. A shot ahead of Dustin Johnson. Cameron Smith in the clubhouse, 4 under. And Brooks Koepka might be in the creek on 15. Or maybe 13, having a pretty good run as well. We'll get into that with Art. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. You can go to discoverwoodway.com right now and register on what and how many tickets you want for the mother-daughter brunch at the Pavilion at the Arboretum in Woodway. Go to discoverwoodway.com May the 7th from 11 to 1:30. Tickets are from $30 for moms and daughters each. Moms, you enjoy, along with your daughter, a brunch, activities, crafts, and more. It's the mother-daughter brunch on May 7th, and you can get information from discoverwoodway.com. Also, the perfect place, I mentioned the Arboretum, meetings, galas, conferences, and more, even receptions or rehearsal dinners or weddings. Seating up to 500, 360 or 500 reception-style tables and chairs, and complimentary AV wireless microphone, screen, projector, flexibility of outside vendors if you want them to cater. It is discoverwoodway.com, the mother-daughter brunch on May 7th, and the events in time. A great time, great space and amenities at the Arboretum and the Pavilion, discoverwoodway.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Jeep Celebration is going on now at Allen Samuels. Come see the newest Grand Cherokee, the new 2022, available in a 2-row or a family favorite, the 3-row Model L. Jeep re-engineered for the future. The Grand Cherokee is ready for the next great adventure. Are you? Find legendary power and confidence, along with head-turning style, is what Grand Cherokee is. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop Allen Samuels, DCJ.com, or come in and see our huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Art Strickland He takes people on trips, and he has a group at the Masters at Augusta National. Saw some pictures, and he's at Augusta National as they are wrapping up the first round. Still players on the course. And Art, what kind of day was it from the time Tiger teed off to some huge names that are out there right now?
Yeah, Smokey, I got to say, I've been fortunate to see a lot of great things in person and great things. But watching Tiger Woods, 13 months after nearly amputating his leg, playing on one of the hardest walking courses in the world and shooting under par, that could be the most amazing thing I've ever seen in sports. I mean, whatever word you want to use, astounding, mind-boggling, incredible. It's just, I couldn't believe I was watching it. And to see him make it up and down those hills and to see him do all that stuff, it's just really incredible.
Art, if not for the par fives, we're really talking about a fantastic day for Tiger Woods, comeback notwithstanding.
Yeah, and he said in his press conference on Tuesday, he said, I haven't lost my ability to play golf. Walking is the only thing that concerns me. And he did today what he always does. He does not make mistakes. He waits for other people to make mistakes. And, if he ever makes a mistake, if he hits the trees on 18, or he pitches out, then hits probably his best today. It's just really remarkable. And, I said I haven't he's going to make the cut. He's clearly going to make the cut. And if you don't think he's in the mix on Sunday, you have not been paying attention. You haven't. I mean, it was a remarkable day. The crowd was 25 deep this morning, teed off at 11 o'clock here at Augusta time. And the crowd was 25 deep when he teed off. I watched him really closely. I didn't see a limp. I didn't see, real fatigue. I just saw a guy that was determined. And I don't know, someone told me on TV they zeroed in when he was walking up the hill after 18 and had a little smile on his face. I think he was just really the way his day went.
Yeah, I tell you what surprised me, and this goes with anybody who's had a layoff, is that, he's always kind of been a little bit wacky with his driver, and his driver got him in trouble a couple of times, but as you mentioned, but his irons were razor-like. His short game around the greens, whether it was the chip he made on 11 to within about 3 or 4 feet, he made about 6 or 8 big clutch par putts. But I just thought that would be the part that would bother him, was his short game, because that's what usually goes when you haven't played in a while.
He's over 500 days since he played a competitive match. And he made a really good part on the broadcast. When I heard, they said that even when Tiger's playing at the Midwest, which is kind of his home club in West Palm and everything, you need to play a 5.5 hour round when you play with your buddies. You quit before you play a 5.5 hour round, And so the fact that he's 5.5 hours, he shot under par, it's just remarkable. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Usually, if you play 5.5 hours, there's lunch and beers at the turn that lasts a little too long there,
or someone's hitting into you.
Art, Dustin Johnson doing really well right now. Sung J M is the leader. Anything really surprising you? Scotty Scheffler had a great round. Anything surprise you the most on day one?
Not really. I mean, I thought Scotty came in red hot, and he beat red hot. So he was. I mean, Dustin, I think, is in good form. Obviously, he can overpower this golf course, and he proved that in the fall. So, nothing really surprising. I mean, Spieth is there. I don't think Spieth had his best day, but I think he's really good. So, not a whole lot surprised me. I thought that the guys that are usually in the favorites, the Bryson DeChambeaus and stuff, I like all the focus on Tiger. And I don't think it helped them a whole lot. Just, I try not to get too excited about this game because it's my job and it's what I do and what I love to do. But I gotta say that was an exciting. When I saw him hit the first tee and won, really exciting, David. Really was.
DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, they've got some work to do. Woodland, 3 over. There's some guys with some work to do that need to kind of, and Spieth is 2 over, and he's been he had a nice save. I think he was on 13 or 15, but that's going to be tough. Those are guys. Justin Thomas would have been one of the favorites this week as well because of his length and the fact that he's just a hell of a golfer. So you've been covering this. Let's go back. You've been covering this. I saw an overhead, like a drone shot of the number 1 tee box. And it's not like it's the first time Tiger's come back after being gone to play at a Masters at Augusta. Was this, so you're saying this was beyond anything you've ever seen?
I've never seen that many people. I followed Tiger and Phil one year when I used to work for Augusta National Smoky. And I didn't see this kind of crowd when Tiger and Phil played together. This is the biggest I've ever seen.
Unbelievable. And, of course, the ceremonial.
And so now he's playing in the afternoon tomorrow, which means, obviously you got to see how he recovers, but I don't think he's played 18 holes. He didn't play 18 on Monday, didn't play 18 on Tuesday. Maybe he played 18, when he was here last week with Charlie. I think he said he played 27 when he was here with Charlie last week and JT. But, it's just really a remarkable day. And it shows you never give up on guys like that. Don't give up on Jordan. Don't give up on guys that have the will to win. Because they're not like us. And they're not like anybody. It's just, it was a remarkable day. I've been very fortunate. This is my 23rd Masters. Super fortunate, but I don't know if I've ever seen a day like this, especially starting out at 11 o'clock.
Well, and of course the weather got out of the way yesterday with the rain, so they had a clear. It's been a little bit chilly, but not too much. Yeah. Not like 2007 when it was freezing at certain times. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, sure. It is. Zach Johnson, yeah.
Anything you noticed with 11, they changed 11? Did you get to 11 where they opened up all those trees, but there's still, it all bounces behind those trees?
Yeah, the only thing I really noticed, Smokey, is that you're hitting long irons into 11, and in 15 you're laying up. Last guy saw layup on 15 was Chip back in '93 when he was playing all the time, and that's because he was a wimp. But guys are laying up on 15 now just because it's so long.
By the way, M is teeing off on 18, and he's had himself around, no question, at 5 under. It looks like he'll have an iron into the green. And I did see on 11, and I know you got to go, and you've got a group there with you. I saw on 11, Tigers and others as well were 240-plus yards out on their second shot, hitting into that green that looks like a pickle with the pond on the left-hand side.
That makes the win on the play even that much more worthwhile. I mean, can't give up with guys with will, and Tiger's got the greatest will of anybody in golf. Proved that once again. He proved that. In case anybody doubted, he proved that once again.
Yeah. All right, Art Strickland, thank you. At Art Strickland on Twitter. Again, The Art of Golf. He's got a group that goes with him. They're at Augusta National. Pictures up on Art's. I don't have the Instagram thing, but I think that's where he showed a little bit. I got an email with that because I'm a subscriber for him of his. But it's been a wild day and a gorgeous day at Augusta National as well. And there's some young studs who are just kind of looming around. And then, again, there's some old veterans that are hanging around as well and kind of set themselves up to be a part of this as they go into day number 2. When Tiger's wreck occurred 17 months ago, or no, a year ago, I thought he would never play again because of what we heard about the damage to his leg. And then I surely never thought he would play Augusta. If there was going to be a course, that would be it. And I really never thought that he would come back and be able to play as precise as he did today.
Yeah,
tomorrow's a new day. Could go up, and who knows? I hope he's going to be okay.
He's going to be. He said he's going to be in ice baths all night tonight.
I can see that
and doing that. So good luck to him on that. And you and I are both huge Tiger fans. We're really excited that he did well. I think any tournament he's in is better when he's playing well.
And I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things I wanted to address, I was thinking about this driving here today. Like, I'm one of those that it angers me that the Big 12 cannot be as good if Texas and Oklahoma are not the ones competing for titles. It angers me if the Yankees are not a part of something in Major League Baseball, even though the Red Sox and others have been better for a long time. It angers me because if the Cowboys aren't involved, it can't be as good. And the NFL's proven now for 20-something years that that's not the case. But there is a difference when Tiger Woods is in a golf tournament.
Well, look, there's very few athletes ever like Tiger Woods. You're talking about, look, the NBA was better when it had Magic and Michael and Larry Bird in it than it is now. I'm sorry, but it was. It's better when it had Michael Jordan. He was the greatest of all time. Golf is better when Tiger Woods is playing because he's such a unique athlete. And look, he's inspired this generation of golfers, which I think this is this is a really great group where, you've got Koepka and DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson and Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy, and you've got, a long list of guys who are fun to watch and can win at any time because they're all great and because they grew up, watching Tiger and doing that. So, yeah, he's made golf better. And sometimes guys do that. Is boxing as good as it was when there was Ali and Frazier? No, it's not, because those guys were different.
And they also brought out the best in each other as well. All right, when we come back, a couple of notes.
Just keep it here for a minute.
Keep it here, okay. Yeah. We every year, and have now for 12 years since Central Texas, and for 20, almost 30 years overall, we honor the elite student athletes from high schools around this area. And a lot of you that have joined us on the YouTube channel that don't know a little bit about that, yes, we cover the hell out of high school football. Some of you know that, or high school sports when we can, and other stories. But we got all our nominations in. And I increased the criteria, raised the level of the number of GPA you must have, or your average, and we have gotten all the nominations in, and we will go through them this month, and we will announce the 12th annual Central Texas, what is the high school sports academic all-stars team. 10 boys and 10 girls. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is our title sponsor, and many others who are sponsors of the program. We'll have a banquet in mid-May at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium and announce the 20-member team. We'll do the announcement on, I think it's Monday, May the 2nd. But I want to announce, I want to list the sponsors because without them we can't do this. I mentioned Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Westel Asset Management, Joe Beard, who was one of our original sponsors of this show and also is a huge high school sponsor of ours and is huge into this program. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, Whitaker Family Fun, HEB, the McLean Group, Drayton McLean, Award Specialties, Healer Printing, Universal Windows Direct, thanks to Scott Davis, and of course the Waco Foundation is and hosts our 501c3. It's a great program. We will start having more information on it. We'll announce the team on May the 2nd, honor them on May 16th, which I believe, if May 2nd, I think May 18th might be the banquet, as when we honor the team at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. So there we go with that. Now, anything else in sports we have not touched on today? There's a couple of stories I saw. We mentioned that Kloppenstein has committed to Baylor, the tight end, the 4-star tight end. I thought I had a story about, Armstrong. Do you have the gunner track athlete, the hurdles, that video that I sent to you on Friday evening? I want you guys to watch this. Remember the kid bowling that blew away Texas, is now at Georgia, like a Olympic-style sprinter, and how amazing he was? This is just a video that I found. This is Gunner, a 2023 athlete. Phoenix Grant. I've never seen anyone dominate a sprint hurdles, I'm talking about hurdles event, like this young man did. No audio here. Watch. This is, I think, 100 meters or so. Look at this. Somebody sent that to me on my Twitter feed. Have you ever seen in a sprint 100 meters? That probably might be the 110. Win a hurdles event by that much.
That's insane. I mean, I don't know what...
this race is over right now unless he falls.
Yeah. This kid in the red doesn't know what he's doing.
No, he's struggling.
His arms are straight out every time, like he's pirouetting over the thing. At least he's clearing them. I couldn't do that.
I have never seen... And I think he actually did kind of fall forward a little bit after the last hurdle. That's probably as grueling an event. The longer hurdles, of course, even longer, 400 meters, whatever. But I have never seen somebody win a hurdles event by 2 like the length of 2 hurdle jumps on the track.
I mean, 2 things were happening there. Clearly, he's a fantastic athlete, but also that was not probably the most challenging heat he'll ever face.
Stop.
I mean, if you told me all those guys had something with the name Fritter at the end before the race, I would also believe you.
Oh, my God. All right. Let's see here from the chat room today. So do you guys think the assistant head coach for Gates, any ACC guys are in the know? Dennis Gates will hire Florida State's Charlton Young. Paul, what's going on here?
That's a big deal. Like Dennis Gates and CY worked together under Hamilton. CY brought in guys like Terrence
Charlton
Mann.
Young is CY, by the way.
They brought in a ton of guys. If Missouri, I wonder if they're going to coach like Ham does at FSU, in that he's got 12 guys on scholarship. Those 12 dudes are going to play. And he kind of wears people out with being tall and fast and athletic and angular, and the fact that foul trouble is never really that big of a deal to him. And, granted, some guys you get in foul trouble, you're kind of like, oh, well. But Scotty Barnes, I mean, they've recruited NBA players at FSU. And this year FSU had a ton of injuries. But if you look at the last few years, what Leonard Hamilton has done there, it's because of guys like Dennis Gates and CY. And
Joe Memo's a huge Missouri fan.
That's a great hire.
And he was asking about that, and I'm glad you know more about CY in personal terms as well. So, Show Memo, thanks for the note, and Paul just gave you his knowledge
just tons
on that as well.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, well, and here's the thing. I'm always the guy on the shows like, don't get too attached to assistant coaches. Your assistant coach is supposed to be head coaches, but that one stings. And, hopefully Coach Leonard Hamilton can get something back that's as good, but it's hard to do that, especially when you're a guy like Leonard Hamilton who's at the end of his career. I mean, he's a couple years from now, he's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, but this guy Missouri's a basketball school, and of course,
could he come back and be the head coach? Maybe if
he was there with any connections, or he might be able to have his own run with what he does at Missouri. And Jack Huffman, Tiger can drive, just not a car. Ouch. JG Neolardo, the 300-meter hurdles is brutal. My brother Robert ran him. He was big, tall, about 6'2", 6'3". He ran him. Never forget one time he fell and just scratched up his entire body, ended up with staphylococcus and missed part of the school year. Let's see here. There's some of the chat room there. Let's see. And Joey, Nebraska should be much better this year. I think they win 8 games. I don't know. I don't know that. I have no faith in anything of what they do right now until proven otherwise.
I mean, that'd be great. That'd probably save Scott Frost's job. That's a big jump. But, there was a couple games that were near misses last year, if not more than that. And, you just flip those results. And, there's a lot of – I've seen people who are saying Baylor won't be as good this year because they won close games. And there's no way that they'll, go 5-1 or whatever the number was in one-score games. If that's all you're basing it on, I actually think this Baylor team could be better than last year. I don't know if they'll accomplish the same because a lot did have to fall their way. But, there's something to build off of. And for Nebraska, I mean, you just automatically think that, that things with the changes should be better, and that maybe those close games where they were, 0-4 or 1-5 or whatever the record might have ended up being, that they can actually pull that off. They do that. I mean, that's a dramatically different looking, set of results right there. They just made, though, again, they were the dumbest football team I've ever watched. They were just dumb. The mistakes that they made to cost themselves games was just unbelievable. I mean, it's like, there's no way a team screws themselves over like this over and over and over again, and yet they did it every single week. They found a way to do it. It was just, couldn't wrap my head around it. So if they can somehow flip that, then, shoot, Scott Frost may be signing a contract extension, but you got to actually go out there and do it. So we'll see, but he's been there a while now. It's surprising to me it's been 5 years already, but it has.
Had Michigan State, had many others, in some cases maybe not dead to rights, but had opportunities to win. They just couldn't do it. They just, Iowa in deep trouble at halftime, and they get a punt blocked. Or they have a fumble return right before the half, and then a punt block. It's just part of the disaster. And Scott Frost still has to take all accountability, no matter what he took over, because he's been there long enough to go back to the basics of fundamentals of how to win football games. And special teams makes average teams good teams great, and they've been horrible with that as well.
I think two things would change if they are just passable on special teams, and last year they were not. They had a failing grade all the way across the board. If you take it pass fail and you pass, they'll be better this year. And I do think that the marriage of Scott Frost and Martinez was just one that was never going to work because they couldn't quit each other. They needed him. They needed Martinez to make big plays, but they also couldn't coach some of the
toxic relationship.
They just could not coach some of those risky things out of them. Now, Casey Thompson, if Mark Whipple is smart, the baseline for Casey Thompson is let's just punt on this drive. Because if the special teams are better and your punt team is better and you don't turn the ball over in bad situations, then you'll be better because those things that were losing you close games, you stop doing so you can go from being a 4-win team to a 7-win team because those 8 stupid plays that turn the game around are over. And then after that you can build on, maybe contending for the conference, but right now they got to just figure out how to be a team that doesn't do stupid stuff.
Well, we featured 4 teams today. We'll continue to do that. Also, numerous emails out for various coaches. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you a tease. It probably won't be till after the NFL draft, but Stanford's David Shaw has always been someone that I have a lot of respect for. Spoke with them earlier today again, and at some point we'll be able to get David Shaw on the show. There was a note that I put up on Twitter, Pierre Jackson. This is from somebody else who reported that he had signed with Xinjiang to play in China for the 22-23 season. Pierre Jackson, former star at Baylor's, bounced around, is all over the place. A lot of players playing overseas, and I wondered because of China, and there's Epe Udo was in China among others. And there was someone that says this is like taking dirty money. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, to an extent, it's hard to look at places like China and Russia and think what I'm doing here is completely legit. But also, I mean, none of us if China called and offered me that kind of money to do a radio show, I'd have to consider it. And especially if you have this one shot in an athletic career, you can do a radio show for 50 years, nothing ever changes. But you only have a limited time to make money in professional athletics. So, I mean, it would be hypocritical of me to be like, oh, dare he do that? I mean, it's China. It's not great, but I don't know. It's hard for me to take a big moral stand if I could probably have been swayed the same way if I was in Pierre's position.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to feed his family, and I don't know who else is offering him millions of dollars to do that. So I would take the money, too. I mean, it's China, not Russia. It's not like he's going and playing for the Russian league in the midst of all of this. I know China's just perennially the bad guy, but you know what? To those people, so's the U.S., and we're not perfect either. So I don't have much issue with it at all. That's where a league is. That's a league that wants him to play. I mean, and what reason really is he going to cite, I'm not going to go over there because the Uyghurs are being mistreated apparently? What is he going to say? What's going to be his reason for not going? I guess it could be that, but I mean, does Pierre Jackson keep up with that? I mean, not everybody's reading Twitter all the time and, soaking in Chinese propaganda or the alternative of that, so it's just weird. I don't see much conversation about, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the
Uyghurs.
Uyghurs. Okay, Uyghurs. Okay, thank you. I'm glad to know that. I don't see much conversation unless it's some China and the NBA are linking up. Oh, well, the Uyghurs, I mean, but then, do you hear about it in normal conversation ever outside of the realm of sports? No, not really, you don't. Maybe you do if you follow politics closely. But, I mean, as far as Pierre, he's got to do what he's got to do to make a living and live his basketball dream. So, I mean, if he was signing with Team Moscow, yeah, I'd have a bit of more of an issue with that. But we're not at war with China in official terms. There's a forever war that goes on, obviously, behind the scenes. But, no, I don't have an issue with it.
Every single one of us not you. Yours was probably made in Taiwan, which is going to be China, or China already thinks that it is. But Apple computer right over there. Apple computer, iPhone, Apple computer. All the stuff we're using right now is made in China. So, I can be like, hey, don't do that. But American companies are giving me stuff made in China all the time that I need every day. So, I mean, we kind of have to accept this dangerous little thing.
I asked the question, would you, if offered a ton of money, whatever the ton of money, could be 100,000, could be $1 million, make a living in China, would you? Mike, I would. Roger the Dodger, Phil Mickelson is interested. Of course, with the Saudi Arabia and the backing of that golf tour. And there are a lot of times when we say, oh, there's no way, and yet our shoes are made there, or what we are wearing on our bodies might be made there, or something that we're within our cars that we drive that might be from there. And then some companies have American flags in China. And in some cases, there are human rights issues in a lot of countries, and not just in the ones that we hear about the most.
Yeah, look, China's not the best. They kind of suck. But we're over a barrel right now. So until we figure out a way to convince Apple to make all this stuff in West Virginia or something, we're going to have to deal with it. So,
speaking of which, Baylor baseball plays West Virginia in a weekend series that starts tomorrow.
I would think that if you're a disenfranchised coal miner in West Virginia, if Apple would be nice enough to go there and teach you how to make computers, it'd be a lot better than crawling down into a hole every day.
When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5 to wrap up this Thursday, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
As promised, Top 5 Bob Bowlesby replacements. Not heard back from a couple of sources here, but this is a lot that I kind of gleaned from research here. So I kind of broke them up into categories on the 5 different ones because there's different ones. So number 5, if you're going to promote a Big 12 AD, Shane Lyons from West Virginia has experience on committees, has been kind of all over the place doing different things. He's the one I think could kind of handle everything very kind of smoothly. A lot of people may think Kirby Hocutt on this list, but I think Kirby Hocutt, while I think there might be a little bit of Greg Sankey in him where he can like step out and be very braggadocious about things, I'm not sure that he's the guy they need right now.
It's going to be interesting to find somebody who's a power broker who doesn't have an outward ego.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Like Slive knew that, but I never thought of him.
Sankey does. Sankey really does.
Yeah.
Jim Delaney from the Big Ten.
This is a guy that has kind of come out of the wood. Like I've seen his name on more than one list as well.
Yeah. So that would be kind of an interesting one to me, and he's got experience in a lot of different places. All right, so number 4, university president route. Kirk Schultz from Washington State was at Kansas State. Has been on the transformation committee and all that. Well liked around the Big 12 already. Very plugged into athletics where he's been. That's why he's been popular at Washington State, because he's all about fixing their athletic program. But he is someone who's also, a younger candidate as they go. Certainly younger than the guy who's the popular pick, and we'll get to that at number 1. But he's someone who's been involved in a lot of different things as well, and might be able to, because he's worked in different pockets of the country, be able to navigate a lot of those things.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I do, Paul. I'd love to chime in. I have no idea about Kirk Schultz, so I'm just going to roll with you on this, man.
Yeah. So number 3, the fast-rising AD, a guy who served on the College Football Playoff Committee, who's done a lot of different things, college basketball. Michael Kelly from USF. He's been kind of all over the place, and he is an AD who's trying to get stadiums built for USF and improve their facilities. People really like this guy. He's a fast-rising, popular guy. I don't know if the jump, though, from USF AD to Big 12 commissioner is what they would, but he did kick the tires on the ACC job when they hired Jim Phillips a couple years ago.
Where was Slive before he was Slive? Where was Delaney? And I don't know. A lot of times may have been involved.
Bob Bowlesby was at Stanford. So it
before that
kind of makes sense that you would
Iowa.
Yeah. But that you would make that jump. But this is an interesting one and one to watch. Number 2, the in-house choice would be Ed Stewart, who's worked with Bob Bowlesby for a very long time, and is somebody that if the Big 12 kind of wants to keep the same kind of vibe and maybe add, Ed Stewart's expertise to it, this is maybe don't necessarily change courses in midstream if you have a plan that you like now. And Bob Bowlesby thinks very highly of Ed Stewart. We've heard him mention Ed Stewart before when we've had him on the show. So
I've interviewed him once on the show. Seemed like a very, kind of a guy. He doesn't walk around, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm not saying that's good or bad. But I know Bowlesby's always talked very, very highly of him as well. Of course, he should. He's on his staff.
Yeah, going back to USF, I like that the on-campus stadium, there's some good things happening there, which would be big for them. But, do you want to be in-house? That's my question for the Big 12. Is it good to have familiarity, or do you need somebody who's completely in some way – you got to have some familiarity. You can't walk in just completely ignorant to the current landscape into these teams. I don't think they can hire a total outsider who has no knowledge. But I also don't know that you want to go basically, would he be just more of Bowlesby? You know what I mean? Would it be more of just kind of the same thing? I'm not saying, that Ed Stewart's just Bowlesby because he worked under him, but that's what I need to know. Is it going to be more of the same, or is it going to be drastically different? And because they need something not necessarily drastically different, but they need different.
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the things this list has changed dramatically than what it was. I would have had a guy on this list as number 1, no matter who else I had last year not happened, because I thought for years the guy who would take over for Bob Bowles, who would be Joe Castiglione at Oklahoma. But you're not going to hire a guy who was part of the bid to derail your conference.
Not a coup, but
it was a coup.
Basically was. I couldn't
How
see
ironic
that.
would that be?
And I mean, what would be? I guess if Castiglione really wanted a commissioner's job, then maybe. But I mean, that would just be awfully weird and just a very strange sequence of events. So yeah, that'd be hard to.
No, I mean, I think his candidacy ended 9 months ago.
Yeah,
so but I mean, that's why
trust him.
But
you can't trust him
again. Had before that, if you asked me who's the guy in the Big 12 that they want to take over, it'd be him because of the way he was well thought of and the way he's navigated everything and how well connected he is. But that's over now.
No, he's already shown his colors and there's no trust in him on anything.
There's
so
three guys: he, Del Conte, and also Aresco that cannot be even included.
Doesn't matter what they say, you don't believe it. You don't believe it one single second because the entire time you know that they're going to look. They got to do their jobs and do what's best for their universities. I cannot blame them for that. That's what they were hired to do, and what in both of their cases they get paid a lot of money to do. But yeah, I'm not going to believe a word that comes out of their mouth ever again after the events of last summer.
Yeah. All right. And number one, the popular pick, Oliver Luck. Look, Bob Bowlesby is 70. Oliver Luck is 62 or 63. So I don't know if this would be necessarily a long-term hire, but he is, he's done a lot of different things. He's been an AD. He's been the commissioner of the XFL. He's been in business. He's worked for the NCAA. Everybody likes Oliver Luck. We've met Oliver Luck. He's, he's, what you kind of look for in a leader in certain things, but is this the job that he wants at this certain time? Is he the right guy? I would say, to me, I would feel confident in giving Oliver Luck this job if everything was normal and it was kind of a, make sure everything stays the same and prove you where you can. But I don't know if, I don't know, and he might be. I don't know. I don't know enough about him as a leader to tell you that he can navigate the new TV deal and all the different things going on in college football right now.
Yeah, I don't know if that sparks any kind of fire. I think he's a safe pick. I don't know if he's the right pick. He was, without question, when all hell broke loose. He was a kind of a reconnaissance flight out to look at various places around the country to talk to certain people to try to help see if he could, maybe create some interest with this team or that program or whatever. But that might be the safe pick. I don't know if they need the safe pick. They need the right pick, and they need somebody who's going to take them to another level in every specific way, from revenue to media to ideas to also being tough as hell.
Yeah, and going back to Castiglione and Del Conte and whoever else you want to throw in that mix, in terms of not trusting them, it's not like they came out and just flat out lied either. So I can't say that they did that. But Castiglione did have ominous warnings for 3 years, just little comments here and there. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it was done all behind closed doors the way that it was, and the fact they had no problem just leaving the Big 12 to die, that breaks trust for forever. And on Oliver Luck, I mean, yeah, that's the safe pick. I mean, that's what you could definitely say. He would be the safe choice and probably the odds-on front runner if you were just basing it off of safe choices. But I need to know more, or would have to learn more about him to see exactly why he would be great, other than, he just makes sense because he's been here and we all think he does a good job. We can't really break down why he does a good job, but we've just been told he does a good job and is well respected, and that's really all we have to go off of. But he seemed to have this last stint not the case with the XFL. That's currently in a lawsuit with Vince McMahon. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, the guy's received very high marks and seems to be well respected. And if it was him announced tomorrow, I would not be shocked at all. But is it the best choice? I don't know about that. I don't know.
AD at Oregon, the AD at Colorado. I think George, one of those two, their names are on the list. Different people. On3 had theirs. The Athletic had theirs. SI had theirs. All of them, though, are plugged in pretty well. All right. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Anne-Marie Winter, Jack McKenzie, also Levi Caraway here as well, along with Armstrong Sims, his best friend, Scotty Scheffler, right near the top of the leaderboard as the Masters is winding down the first round. For Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, our amazing sponsors. Today we started year 3 of Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Enjoy the evening. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.